To the public, those online, welcome here today. We'll have the opening karakia. Just a reminder, everyone, that this has been recorded and is available, is on YouTube live streamed. We have Councillor Woodward, who is attending online, and we'll move on to item 2, apologies. We have apologies from Councillor Westerman and Councillor Rankin and Councillor Leonard for an early departure due to other engagements. Can someone move we accept those apologies? Councillor Cameron, and second to Councillor Mananui. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Contrary no. Carried. Item 3, conflicts of interest. Are there any conflicts pertaining to the items on the agenda?
Aye.
Councillor Foreman?
Yes. Bear with me, I'm just trying to find the correct wording. Yeah, so got a conflict in relation to the item around Planchates 47. Well, I note that I do have relationship with some of the submitters there. I do plan to raise matters on behalf of the public within that item, but I do have a conflict there.
How do you plan to address that conflict of interest then?
I'll abstain from the vote.
Thank you very much. Moving on to item 4.1, confirmation of the minutes held on Tuesday the 28th of July 2026. Are there any amendments to those minutes that anyone wants? If not, can we have a mover? Councillor Cameron, and a seconder, Councillor Taylor. All those in favour say aye. Contrary no. Carried. Then confirmation, item 4.2, confirmation minutes held on Thursday the 6th of August 2026. Are there any amendments? Can someone move that we accept those minutes? Councillor Greenslade, seconder. Councillor Taylor. All those in favour say aye. Contrary no. Carried. Moving on to item 5.1, the public forum. This is a standard agenda item, and we'd welcome Tama Blackburn to the podium. Just to remind everyone, these are subject to standing orders, and you have 5 minutes plus some time to answer questions following. So Tama, welcome.
Kia ora. Kei aku rangatira o Taupō nui atia, tēnā koutou kia ora katoa. E noho ana nei he uri o Ngāti Maniapoto, Ngāti Kinohaku, Ngāti Uekaha, no Waitomo, no te Tai Hauāuru, ko Tama Blackburn tōku ingoa. Thank you for your time today. I'm here to present what I hope you'll think is a positive kaupapa, the Puriora project. So I was employed by the Department of Conservation Maniapoto to carry out this kaupapa at the start of this year. Previous to this, I was at Te Nehe Nui, the Maniapoto PSGE, as a Taiao project manager. I saw this as a complex but amazing project that, if kicked off, it will provide benefits to all. So the Puriora project, that's its name at the moment because we're so early in this, it doesn't have a real name. So this is the discovery phase of what could be a vision, a responsibility, and a better future for something that could positively impact our landscapes, our waterways, our airspace, and generations of people to come. If we're looking at the scope of what could be, that hasn't been defined yet. When we were thinking about what are the impacts that could happen, So when we thought about what is happening on the centre, if we looked at from a Department of Conservation perspective, the Puriora Forest Park is almost 80,000 hectares. Whatever happens there has ripples outwards. So we decided to use the waterways, the water catchments, to give an idea of the impacts. And so you can see on that vision what goes out. And you can see it impacts the Waikato in the north, the Whanganui Awa in the south, Taupō in the west, and the Moko Awa in the west. The other colours, so around the red, which is the forest park, the orange is just like a 5 to 10 kilometre buffer area outside the forest park. And then the green is more of a realistic thing of inside those water catchments. When we talk about what the Puriora project is, it's not just the forest park, it's restoring the area around it, the surrounding areas. So Department of Conservation isn't alone in this drive at the moment. There were the Waikato Regional Council and the Horizons Regional Council. We're about to formalise an MOU on how we can support this thing going forward. And the intentions and aspirations of those three parties is that this kaupapa, should it kick off, it should be community-led, and the government agencies fall back into a supporting mechanism to provide the resources and things to help this keep going. There's lots of numbers in there to look at. But before we go forward, we must know where we've come from. So there's lots of kōrero about the place, about it being an ancient spiritual forest, the resourceful food basket, and a shared identity. And its enormous scope in spaces and places, it still is that, but things have changed. So we head towards the recent history. These things happen. It is what it is. We can't change it, but we can learn from it. So a lot of the land has been cleared, forested, a lot of the giants have been cut down, and the waterways are now degrading. That image on the right is of the Waipa joining the Waikato, but for most people, this is probably a familiar image with their rivers, wherever you are. So these kinds of things have caused disconnection of people to the place, also the degrading of resources, but also our shared impacts, and none of us are innocent of these impacts. We all share that responsibility. But as we move forward, we can't move forward without acknowledging the good things that are currently happening. We have catchment groups and farmers and forestry groups doing restoration, planting, waterway protection and enhancements. We also have the tourism industry that's in there doing things. They're advocating for the environment, ecotourism and such. Then we have our mana whenua and our iwi. If they're holding the stories and the kōrero, so if we looked at data, they hold the baseline data of what was, and then we can use that to move forward. And we have our local communities, our school groups, and people that are there day in, day out. Now, during our engagement series from the beginning of this year, there's been a few recurring themes. One of the key ones is kotahitanga. Everyone that we've engaged with agrees that something of this scale cannot be achieved alone by one group, one entity, one person. It must be shared. So kotahitanga is one of the biggest values that come out so far. A unified approach, shared resources, and collective outcomes. Another key thing is intergenerational. Things must happen through the generations. It's taken generations to get to this point, and it will take us generations to get us out. So passing down the knowledge, the skills, the assets from our elderly all the way through to our tamariki and mokopuna is going to get us there. Now you might be thinking, what has this got to do with us? Taupō District Council. Did a little bit of homework on everyone's long-term plans, values and priorities, and alongside Waitomo District Council, Otorohanga District and Ruapehu, who all share responsibilities in this area. Looking after the place we love is a tagline that I brought out of a bit of homework on you guys. And I think we can all agree, if we looked at this place, there's a lot that we can love about it. And we all have a responsibility to look after it too. And we can do that in many different ways. So where is the alignment? Catchment and water resilience. I know that water is a big value here. Looking outside and seeing the big moana you've got, and then that feeds into the river. So looking after that, making sure that's clean and healthy. Restoration-led prosperity, so there are jobs and businesses that can benefit off restoration kaupapa. Honouring te tiriti-based.
We do have to stick to time.
Can't wait.
Yep. Your 5 minutes technically is up.
Okay.
Do you just want to tidy up with a final statement or something like that?
Yeah, for sure. So I guess what we're getting to is we've done a lot of engagement and it's time to come to our councils once you've gone through your Head Start programs and sort. So just here to present a good kaupapa to let you know that this is going on. And if you want to know more, feel free to reach out. Ka pai.
Tama, don't move away. There'll be questions, I'm sure. But thank you for fronting in here. It is something. I haven't met anyone yet who's not interested in this. Hope, do you want to lead the questions?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, kia ora. My name's Hope Woodward. I'm the councillor for Mangakino Taupō. So the Puriora Forest is very important to our communities. We have huge connections to the forest. A lot of community here, spend a lot of time out there. So I'm sure this is a project that they would be very interested in and supporting. Thank you for bringing it to us today. In your opinion, what do you think is the best way that our council can support something like this?
I could go on with my opinion, but I'll use the kōrero that we've gained through our engagement series, and it's providing opportunities and access. So another big theme is probably access that's come through. So allowing people to get to the places, roads, tracks, relationships, that kind of stuff. And I guess just keeping an eye out and an ear out at the moment. We're still very early, and we'll transition from discovery into design. So that's when we might come back, or you might reach out to us. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank
Thank
you
you,
for sharing
Tama.
this
Are there any
with
other
us.
questions from the table? Kylie, or Councillor Leonard, sorry.
Just to give you a heads up, Tama, there's a really awesome group of farmers out to the west at the base of Puriora that are working around waterways and protecting the waterways, and they have a quarterly meeting out in that direction, so that might be a group that you might like to reach out to. So they're pretty fantastic, and what they're doing as far as protecting the waterways and things like that, and they would probably share their resources and their learnings and their projects that they've completed over the last 15 years.
Kia ora. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Tama. Just holds a place in everybody's heart, Puriora. I mean, everyone around here that knows it. And I'm of the era when I do remember the kickback from across New Zealand when we said, no, don't touch it, leave it alone. It's just one of our tauangas and it should be there for everybody forever. Have you engaged with Waikato Regional Council?
Yes, so Waikato Regional Council and Horizons Regional Councils are our partners. Yep. So
Okay,
they're
right.
alongside us with this. Yeah.
Right, and I would imagine the people there with the sort of qualifications that they've got, which probably different qualifications, what you find at council staff would be very, very helpful to you.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah,
a true
no.
asset. Yep.
Yeah,
And
no,
they're just
wonderful, absolutely fabulous project. Thank you for that.
Ka pai.
Thank you for the excellent presentation too, it's lovely.
kia ora.
Councillor Taylor.
Thank you, Bishop, and thanks, Tama. I really appreciate your presentation. Are you connected with groups looking at you talk about access, the tracks through the Taupo-Kaingaroa range through to the Waihaha area, mountain biking, walking?
Funny you say that, my legs are still sore from walking that yesterday. So, yes, bike Taupō.
Aye.
Yep. So, yeah, our team walked that 20 kilometres yesterday for a team day. Now I can't walk properly.
So let me know on the bike tracks and I'll cycle it.
Ka pai. Yeah.
Yep, through the chair, me. Tēnā koe hoa, tēnā koe tēnei kōrero. And like moving forward, if councillors want to engage in this kaupapa, how do they do that? Who's the best person to contact? Are you able to share or send us an email so that we're able to provide some engagement or participate where you fellas need?
Ai, kei te pai. Yep. Absolutely, yeah. You can contact me or my co-lead, Kitty Diamond, is Ngāti Te Maunga, or I see your neighbours are Tūwhare Toa. We've been talking to them a lot. So, there's lots of avenues you can connect with us. Ka pai.
Any further questions?
Just a comment through the chair, if that's all right. I couldn't help but notice that the councils you said are all working together just happened to be part of the CNI model that we were working on. So that was not lost on me. We might have to do some advocacy together.
Kia ora.
I might just comment, Councillor Cameron, we are still working on it. We're forever hopeful. Tama, thank you for taking the time to call in here and make your presentation. It is appreciated. It is important to us all, and particularly from the tourism aspect, from my point of view in particular. So thank you.
Kia ora. Thank you. Thank you for the time.
Now, Dean Stockwell. Thanks, Tama. Same rules for you, Dean. 5 minutes, and then you'll have question time.
Your Worship, thank you, and councillors and ladies and gentlemen. I have a clear and consistent message from Lakeside Developments. Stop the Pukenami Road roundabout connection. Firstly, some background. Around 20 years ago, the Environment Court approved plans for new roading arrangements at the south end of Lake Terrace, now the Kokamia Naroto developments. The plans included a future roundabout at Monganui Drive, with a fourth leg connecting to Pukenami Road. So that's the fourth leg is the issue I'm talking about. At the time, Transit New Zealand refused any connection to the then state highway, so Pukenami Road was extended to Wharawaka Road, and allowing access from Pukenami residents to the state highway and Lake Terrace. Now that the construction of the roundabout was expected only once Lake Terrace ceased being a state highway. Now that Lake Terrace is under council control, the Taupō District Council, TDC, wishes to proceed with the roundabout. The roundabout was not consulted on with residents, instead relying on the 2005 Environment Court hearings and private developer resource consents. Residents were, however, notified on the titles when they purchased the Lakeside sections. Now, Lakeside today is a small, quiet community of just 65 homes. Pukenami Road serves two cul-de-sacs, Kuiwai Road and Kuropoto Lane, with very low traffic volumes and no through traffic, and it's really important, low traffic volumes, no through traffic for the public. Under the current plan, Pukenami Road would be connected to the new roundabout. The existing 270 metre stretch of Pukenami Road leading to Wharawaka Road would be removed and regrassed, despite being a perfectly good road and services right now. Developers will pay for the roundabout, but council must pay for the removal of the existing road. So how did the issue emerge? Well, in March of 2024, TDC officers consulted residents about the future of the soon-to-be redundant section of Pukenami Road. This was the first time many residents became aware of the proposed roundabout connection. So they might have been on the titles, but they weren't really aware of it. Residents were surprised, concerned, and after further consultation, overwhelmingly opposed the connection. They argued there were no tangible benefits to Lakeside residents, no through road advantages to the public, no justification for altering a well-functioning, low-traffic neighbourhood, and the status quo should remain. The council's decision process continued. Despite a strong resident opposition, planning continued and relying heavily on the 20-year-old Environment Court decision. A decision that, of course, in those days was made without residents' input because there was nothing there. So it was just a piece of paper with some drawings on it as far as the Environment Court were concerned. Now, coming fast forward to the 29th of October 2024 council meeting, TDC presented its recommendation that the Pukenami connection to the roundabout proceed. Lakeside residents were allowed 2 speakers, each limiting to 5 minutes to address what is really quite a complex issue. Residents were not permitted to ask questions, preventing any challenge to the assumptions or data presented by TDC officers. Concerns about potentially misleading information in the analysis of options agenda on that item could not be raised. So that's important. There was no opportunity to question. Now, following that, some further work was done, and then council endorsed the TDC recommendation to proceed with the 4-legged roundabout on the 10th of December 2024. Where do things stand now? Well, nearly 2 years later, residents remain dissatisfied and we feel ignored. TDC has pressed ahead with commissioning the Pukenami Road connection. CAMEX Civil is scheduled to begin site works on the 31st of August. That's a week away. There has been no consultation with Pukenaimi Road residents regarding a recently identified issue. With a partial removal of the bund, that's an earth wall in effect in this one, but separating Lake Terrace and Pukenaimi Road will have potential for increased road noise and potential increase of light spill to residents. So why must this project stop? Residents have repeatedly and overwhelmingly rejected the roundabout connection. The key reasons.
Dean, your 5 minutes is up, so you just want to, a few
Right.
seconds to finalise that.
Okay. Key reason, there's no public benefit. The analysis options is flawed in our view. The Environment Decision Court is outdated. The expenditure is unnecessary, and for councils which are trying to establish savings, that's interesting. And we believe that the consultation has not been adequate. So what we're asking the council to do is to halt the project, cancel the Pukenaimi Road connection, act in the interest of the affected community, and if legal certainty is required around the Environment Court decision, maybe then there's an amendment to the district plan or a petition to the Environment Court with this new information. Thank you.
Thank you, Dean. Just if you stay there, there may well be some
Sorry,
questions.
Chair, there's some papers here, I think, and there's a couple of plans on the back showing a three-legged roundabout and a four-legged roundabout.
Yeah, we do have those papers with us. Are there any questions from the table?
Yeah,
Councillor Taylor.
thanks, Dean. I'm just looking at your paper you've given us. Thank you for that. You've talked about agenda item 5.1 from the 29th October meeting. I've actually got those minutes open in front of me. You
Yes.
talk about misleading information in the analysis of options. Can you point me specifically to what it is you say is misleading?
Well, yes, I can. There was a 40-year benefit of 3.25 million, which was posted as an advantage. Now, most of those costs are in fact borne by residents. So because the vehicle operating costs, borne by residents. Vehicle emission costs, borne by residents. Value of time for largely a retired community and holiday makers. That doesn't really figure in a robust cost-benefit analysis. I have no quibble over the road renewal costs of $9,500 per year, but of course there is some money that's been forwarded by the developer which could be banked and put to that purpose.
Thank you. So it's the algorithm used to come around those cost-benefit figures, is that what?
Yes, but also the road safety implications,
Yeah.
where the corridor solutions established that the three-legged roundabout in fact was slightly safer because of its the ability for cyclists to negotiate it more readily than the four-legged roundabout. So that wasn't mentioned in the advantages and disadvantages, but it was in the further detail.
Oh, I just want to make sure I heard you correctly. Thank you, appreciate that.
Councillor Campbell.
Yeah, no, look, I think that's a very good summary of the course of events, actually. And as you realise, I was one of the two councillors at the time who did actually oppose this motion, and in particular the connection. Yeah, and I agree what you're saying about the vehicle operating costs. Yes, I mean they're borne by the same people who don't want it to happen. So, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily put that as a flaw, and I think the consultant answered the question he was put to him, but I think the context of that is pretty important as who bears the costs. One other, I'd have to look at it again, but one of the road renewal costs, I think from memory, were taking into account asphalt, and I believe if chip seal were used instead, which it could be, that it might be further reduced. But yeah, look, I agree with your summation of events, and quite a few of the councillors here, of course, weren't here for that time, so I think that's quite helpful for them to understand as well. So thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Leonard.
I have got a question rather than a statement. I just did a
Thank you.
little search there around Pukenamu, and I just wanted to clarify, around 20 years ago, there weren't houses there, that it was a development, and this was part of the process to enable the development to occur, was that this was put into process?
That's my understanding. But
Right.
yeah.
And then my second question was around that this was from the residents, from Lakeside residents. Could you tell me how many people constitute the Lakeside residents?
There's 65 homes.
So all 65 of those residents have agreed to this document that you've presented to us? I'm just trying to get an understanding of the numbers.
About 90% responded to our original work. This work's been going on for some time.
Have you got documents of those
Yes, I have,
names?
actually.
Okay,
And
I'd love to get a copy of those, please, just to
if you,
reference.
Yes, but some of those responses were actually included in the papers that are referred to as a part of the consultation by the TDC.
I'd just love to check in, because I've just had some differing views from Lakeside residents to what's presented here, and I'd just like to get a clear understanding of.
And we have some Lakeside residents here supporting, of course, today. as
Yeah,
well.
yeah. Thank you.
Councillor Woodward, I was unsure. Did you have a question or? Okay, understood.
No, thank you.
No further questions. Dean, thank you for taking the time and coming here and explaining to the councillors. We appreciate you making the effort. Thank you. Murray McCullum. Murray has explained you have 5 minutes plus question time.
Go, is it? Right. Firstly, thank you for allowing me to speak today. I'm a resident on 11 Kara Place, which is a house right on the corner where the Lake Terrace and Manganamu proposed roundabout is being built, or starting in 6 days. Why I've come today is, and I've had a speech I wrote this morning to present to you on car numbers, but I received an email about an hour ago confirming that car numbers were correct on a test that was done on May 26 this year. And the numbers were 2,659 vehicles a day going up Manganamu Drive, which I live right on the corner, and I'm staggered by that number. And I'm wondering whether it was a long weekend or whatever. But anyway, putting that aside, if they're the numbers, they're the numbers. And I believe it's a 2,000 number base for a roundabout to be triggered or considered. My argument is that about 12 days ago, I found out about the roundabout construction via a social media Facebook post, not consultation from a council. And this was quite alarming to me, because I'm truly affected by this construction. I live right on it, and I felt that with the also hearing a lot of the second-hand, I've been catching up on this, so I apologise if some of this is second-hand information. But what I can tell you is that I have had some conversations with not council members, but staff around the proposed, or the roundabout, and that this was consented nearly 20 years ago. And I find that quite staggering, that there was probably no residents 20 years ago where I live, and which are affected, and we've had no consultation. Now, I'm not against progress. I'm just want a fair chance to be able to make sure that, okay, if the design, which was approved in June this year, I believe, we should have been consulted, particularly us, with our family, because of light spill, noise, things like this. Could we have a say in the design? Could we have less impact on our property? We've had nothing, and I'm here today to ask for the roundabout to be paused so proper process can take place, because I don't believe that's happened. I've also been told that this is a private development being done by the developer. However, and it's not a council's concern. Well, I believe that's not correct. It's a council road, we're ratepayers, and we should have been taken through a due process. Also, the excuse me, just while I find my notes, your published long-term plan shows no roundabout at this intersection at all. And when I raised all of this, I was told by staff, you know, it was, as I said, not a council issue. Well, to me, I just feel that the information that you've been provided has not been completed either. It's incomplete, and that this should be paused and proper process should be taken. And if it's and the residents that are deeply affected, I can't speak for my friends over here across the road, but I am certainly concerned about mine and my neighbours who are deeply disappointed with the lack of consultation. You know, acoustic, noise, lighting, all these things. We've never seen a report. I've received emails just up to this meeting, one at 12:30 from infrastructure manager saying that there was no acoustic, noise or lighting reports done. So that's my case, and I would plead with you to look at this as not I'm against it. It's just that we feel that there's not been proper process, and we'd like it to be paused so proper process can take place and things can be managed properly. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Murray. Other questions from the table? Councillor Campbell.
Yeah, Chair, look, yeah, I haven't met you before, Barry, but yeah, I am disappointed too to hear that, because, well, this is sort of my line of work, transport, that's my background, and yeah, I'm quite interested that you haven't at least been consulted with the design, with an opportunity to contribute, because that's not a very good process in this sort of thing as far as I'm concerned. But apart from noise and what was the other thing? Lighting. Was there any other? Does it affect access to your property?
No, it doesn't. Right. But prior to receiving an hour ago the car numbers report, which I would love, I've questioned where that was, the date of that report was, when that action was taken, and also the location of that, because we do have a reasonable amount of traffic going down to the supermarket and then out on that roundabout. Or whether it was a long weekend, because the majority of the people living behind me are holiday homes, and I just don't see the number of traffic. But my first reaction was, okay, is this roundabout justified? That's the first question you've got to ask. Have we followed due process? Have the residents and ratepayers been properly informed? Also, another point is the developer, I understand, and I have heard this secondhand, has agreed to, if the roundabout didn't go ahead, to put the money towards another project in the region. But my biggest concern is, right now we have street lamps, and it can come into my house, but if now with the roundabout we're going to have more lighting, and it would have just been nice to have been consulted and say, look guys, is there a way we can manipulate that lighting, or we can manoeuvre that so it's not impacting on us as best we could?
I'll just suggest something there too, because something I've experienced to do with the lighting, they're mostly LED, as far as I know, around there, and you can actually request them to tilt them a little bit. I've done it at my place, and it made a big difference. That's a subtlety. A question of mine, actually, all on this was the original consent for the roundabout, and maybe one of the officers here can answer that. But 20 years ago, it was State Highway 1, and I think there was more of a context and a reason to put a roundabout in the first place. I think if it were given State Highway 1 a lot more traffic. Question in my mind is, yes, and I think I might have even come across, because I live not too far away, I might have even come across an old design which was a much larger roundabout for a high speed 100 kilometre. So that was the original context. So
Is there a question there, Councillor Campbell?
well, it's a kind of a staff question, if any staff can answer it. My perception is that the original context was State Highway. Since then, we got the ETA bypass. There's less reason to put a roundabout there in the first place. But if that's a question that the staff can answer.
Yeah, I mean, I've lived on that corner now for coming up 5 years, and look, when we have the holiday period, it does get busy, but I've never seen backed up traffic there, and also the disturbance, and nobody wants this roundabout. Well, we've canvassed all the neighbours, and Panamu Drive residents don't require it. If it's justified, it's justified, but we just feel that the proper process hasn't taken place here. My understanding, and it is second-hand information on the 2007 consent, was that it was actually a T-junction. Now, I don't know if that's 100% correct or not, but I haven't had enough time. Like I said, I had a speech here I was going to, but that kind of got foiled with reports coming in as I was walking in the door, and I think this highlights that I don't believe you've got the full amount of information as councillors to make the right decision here. So that's why I'm applauding you to pause, so we can take the time. As it's not an urgent, it doesn't have to happen today. There's not the demand for it in my mind, and allow us to get it right, and we could look at it in March. Again, that would be my advice. We don't want to be building it over the holiday period. And that's, yes, I would put the pressure back on the executive to why they haven't provided you and us as ratepayers, the residents, the right information around this.
We do have the right.
Well, I haven't seen it.
Oh, kia ora. Have a question. So I'm wondering, because you're saying that you have been a resident for 4 or 5 years now.
Just 4.5, yeah.
Yeah. I'm wondering, has council failed to notify you when you bought the house, or was the information not made available as part of that title?
When I bought the house, you get a lot of documentation when you buy a house, and one of them was one of the property reports, which is 1,425 pages, which I tried to skim through in the last few days. I couldn't find the LIM report, and because I've been scrambling to get the information, but from my memory there was no mention of a roundabout in any of the documentation. The only thing was that there was a proposed reducing the speed limit, which I think happened and then went back up. I also am realistic. You live on the side of a road. How I finish? When I live on the side of a road, there's traffic noise and things, but I haven't had. When we bought the house, there wasn't anything standing out saying they're going to build a roundabout.
Okay, so we're unclear then whether we actually failed to provide the adequate information.
That could be correct, yes. And that's my whole point, is that I feel we haven't, as residents, you feel you've got the right information. I don't believe you do, because I haven't received it.
Councillor Woodward.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mario, for coming in and talking to us about this. Given this is our second person talking about this in a public forum today, and we have had a number of emails, I am a little bit potentially concerned about possible process as a first-term councillor as well, and not being in the council when these decisions were made. I can't say for sure regarding any specific points, but does seem to concern me a little bit. Can I ask you, you were talking about the effects that this would have on you and your property. You mentioned a little bit about lighting and noise. Is there anything other than that specifically?
Well, obviously, no, it's yeah. We would have liked to, we don't fully understand the full impact it's going to have. We haven't had the chance to really review it. So those are the obvious things, Councillor, that I can think of, but without sitting down with the people that have designed this roundabout and asking questions and, you know, I mean, we live on a road. We bought on a roadside. It's like buying a house next to Eden Park where you're not going to expect some noise from stadium, you know. So we do have that, but, you know, I just feel we haven't been consulted properly around what other areas that may have been concern us.
And
Thank
do
you,
you
Mary.
think those
Councillor,
effects will affect, yeah?
carry on, Councillor Woodward, if you had a supplementary question.
Sorry, yes, supplementary, and then one more question, please, if I may. So just onto that, do you think those effects will affect you long term or just during construction?
Well, the lighting and the layout, we've only had in the last few days the design, but we don't understand the fully lighting complexity of what that's going to have on our property. We haven't had a chance to talk to anyone. Councillor over here suggested that we might be able to have a discussion around the shaping of the spill of the light, which that'd be great, but we just would like that opportunity. But I think there's other factors when you listen to the neighbours across the side of the street and looking at, you know, information coming to me just beforehand. I mean, I just feel that my gut feel is here that the process hasn't been followed entirely 100%.
Thank you.
Can we all?
Sorry,
If you have another supplementary question, please proceed.
not quite supplementary, but just wondered for our council or for the presenter there. So there was no notification from our council. Was there any notification from the developer?
We received a letter 2 days ago.
Okay, letter 2 days ago.
Councillor Taylor, followed by Councillor Cameron.
Thank you, Worship. Thanks, Mary. Appreciate your time. Just confirm for me, you're on the Manganamu Drive site?
Yes, I'm right on the corner.
Right on the corner.
Yeah.
Okay. So you would be aware it is a condition of the resource consent for the developer that roundabout was always going to occur? Are you not aware of that?
I've heard mixed reports, and as I said, I'm catching up on this, so you may be sitting on more accurate information than I am.
Okay.
But my understanding was that in 2007 it was a T-junction that was consented, and now it's a roundabout. But that's all I know.
Okay, so I would encourage you to take advantage of the information which is online and publicly available for everybody to see. Just in terms of no consultation, I'm just interested, you heard a previous speaker refer to a council meeting in October 2024.
Well, I never received anything about that. Otherwise I may have attended, but 2024.
Well,
wouldn't you think
but
though?
you'd be
Hang on, excuse me, Councillor. Wouldn't you think that if you would design the roundabout and then take that to a meeting and get residents to discuss with them what's going on? 2024 seems a long time ago.
I guess my question to you is that the fact that this matter had come before council nearly 2 years ago has been on the go ever since. I'm just curious as to how it is that you are only becoming aware of this in the last few days when this has been in the public domain all that time.
Well, if it was in the public domain, why wasn't it in your plan report? What's it called?
The long-term plan?
Yes.
Yep.
It's not
Yeah,
our
that's a separate issue, and we could go into that
Not
at
our
length.
budget.
But I'll leave it there.
Okay, so I'm not an expert in this area, but I haven't, and I'm not the only one on my street to have not had information. So there's a trend there. Not everyone reads every council report that comes out online or whatever. I mean, we should have received letters or someone come and knock on our door or something.
Oh, thank you. I've no further questions.
Thank you, and really appreciate your time and the time of the other residents who have come to speak with us. I can understand why there's so much confusion. I really can, because it's been over such a long, drawn-out process. But I guess I'll challenge my understanding versus yours. So, are you aware that the Lakeside subdivision was only able to proceed because we came up with this bespoke arrangement in the Environment Court that will require access to Lake Terrace once those numbers are hit and once it's no longer State Highway 1. Were you aware of that as part of your investigations?
No, I've
No.
only been investigating this for
Right.
about 10 days.
Yeah, fair enough,
less.
fair enough.
But secondly, as I said, when was that consented?
It doesn't need, it would have been a part of a resource consent, and actually in fact it was, and the reason why access was a problem was because the original access was to come off Chad Street, and there was a lot of pushback from those residents. So they weren't able to get access to the subdivision. So they had to come up with a bespoke condition under the Environment Court to allow Lakeside to proceed. And then every subsequent subdivision that happens after that also has to go through the consenting process. And as that evolved, that's where the conditions have come about. Now, did you say you did get a LIM report? Did you ask your solicitor to look at a LIM report when you purchased your property?
I emailed my lawyer, was it yesterday, to get a copy of the LIM report that we did order. Yes, we did get a LIM report.
But not before you purchased?
No, before I purchased.
Oh, okay.
So that would be on my file.
Yeah, it would be.
And I'm just waiting for that because, you know, that was really 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And anyway, my understanding was there was consent, it was a T-junction, and that the development continued on behind us. Right?
No. So the consent condition is more along the lines of access.
Oh,
and
access.
Yeah. So I guess I understand the frustration, but last training was my first training, and I'm sorry I didn't get to talk to you, but I did talk to a lot, met with a lot of residents on both sides of the street, Lakeside and Monganamu, and I know that there was a lot of consultation, and then there was the discussion at the 24 meeting. We had the lawyers online as well, where we got to ask a lot of questions, and then the decision of that council was challenged in the Environment Court. Were you aware of that?
Yes, I found out recently that was challenged, yes.
Yes, it was challenged and it was upheld, yeah.
That was more to do on the other side of the road, I believe.
It's also about the development across the road and the conditions attached to that, and the reason for which we were tasked to hold that money, because we can't just chop and change where that money is being held. It was held in trust for a specific purpose. So I guess what I'm saying is, in my opinion, we were bound by consent conditions, and we've made the decisions based on that, and I'm sorry that that doesn't align with your thinking, but we are bound by the decision of the Environment Court.
Well, whether you're bound by the Environment Court or not, I haven't had consultation. I live on the corner, and other residents haven't either. So, yes, you're bound by it, but you've failed, not necessarily you per se, but your team has failed to educate us on what's going on. We've not been consulted.
Yeah, I do understand the frustration, but I guess the council processes are slightly different, and this isn't our project, so it's not something that we could go out and consult on.
Well, hang on, this is where I will debate this till the cows come home. It's a council road. We're ratepayers. We vote you guys in to do a job, to act fairly upon ratepayers. We just want your executive to follow your instructions of why you're there, to make sure all ratepayers are fairly educated or consulted around things that have a major impact. So it definitely has a council responsibility in my mind.
Councillor Cameron, we are going over old ground continuously here, so...
I just feel bad that we can't answer questions, because there are lots, and it would be helpful if we could, that's all.
Councillor Mertz, followed by Councillor Woodward.
Yeah, thanks. Also, a new kind of kama, similar to Hope. I definitely empathise with the pleas from our community, and I agree that we are elected members who represent the voices and the views of all of the community, regardless of whether we agree or not. So this council has to find some way to represent the concerns that are coming from this community. We've had floods of emails, whether we're bound by a consent condition or not. we need to consider that. We need to consider that, and we should. You know, I don't care what the topic is. We're here to represent the views of the community, and they bring forth a good case. This community member has felt like he has not been consulted. So what are we going to do about that, councillors? I guess a question not particularly for you, Murray, but for council staff is, you know, do we feel like we've failed in terms of consulting with residents around that roundabout, despite it being our project or not? Shouldn't we do that anyway in good faith as a council who represents the views of the community? How are we displaying that? Is what I want to know. I understand that this has been around for a long time, but we also have an obligation to satisfy and represent the views of our community, and that's what I'm going to be a bit of a devil's advocate here around this council table, because I'm hearing it, I'm hearing the frustration, and I don't think what he's asking for is unreasonable. Are we able to do that? Are we able to provide pathway or opportunity for the community to represent their views further than via email? Are we able to put a halt on this? I just want to ask the question that the community want to know.
Yeah, through the chair, this is a public forum, so I'd appreciate if we took that online, and we've got Nigel in the back, our legal representative, who represented us at the environment. Well, sorry, he represented council at the Environment Court as well, along with our solicitors. So it's probably best to get some, outside of the public forum advice.
Okay, and would we be able to do that within 6 days, or no? Sorry, I know I'm putting us in a real tough position, but I'm hearing the community, and I don't want to put a wall up here. We have to be accessible, and we have to consider these views, even though they may not be possible.
Councillor Murch, you raised a good point. Councillor Woodward, you have a question?
Bit of a question, bit of a statement, pretty much very similar to Councillor Murch there. This is one of our ratepayers. We are literally here because of them and for them. You know, when we've gone through a process like this, consultation has already been through, things have already been put through. We're only a few days away from this roundabout being constructed, but we've got these serious concerns from these residents. What are we supposed to do in situations like this? How do we support these concerns? Because they are very, very real, and this might be revisiting an old issue, Mia, but apologies, this is a continuous issue for these residents. When the consultation happened in 2024, were letters actually sent to the specific homes that this would implicate?
Councillor Campbell.
Oh, look, my perspective on this, I don't think the council lawyer is going to give us the answer to this, because it's not really a legal question. What's been asked for is to hold up until this man's questions, his questions get answered. I don't think that's unreasonable, and I to be honest, I don't think his questions should take that long to address, to be honest. I don't think we're going to decide, no, we don't want the roundabout. I think it's gone too far for that, but I think this man's questions can be addressed pretty quickly, actually, and it might not even need to hold up anything. The level of this guy's questions could be answered within days, and I think that should be the first attempt, and we should be doing that. And look, tell you what, I have put in nearly hundreds of projects in other places, and I would have always consulted this man before just lumping on it on him, at least.
Point of order, Your Worship, that this is a public forum. It is so we as councillors can hear members of the public. And I thank you for coming in for presenting.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. I'm going to adjourn this for 5 minutes while I get some advice that I can actually hear. So if we can just have 5 minutes.
think Councillor Campbell.
Righto, well, meeting, but what we are going to do is carry on with the agenda, and we will hold a briefing for all the councillors to get everyone on the same page, whatever page that is. So Murray, thank you for taking the time to come in and explain it to us, but we need to have a briefing amongst ourselves, but we need to carry on with this advertised agenda.
Can I just make one point? The 1425 page council consent when I bought the house only mentioned a roundabout on the Anzac Memorial Drive up towards the airport, I believe. And I've got the title numbers, which I think council should look at to refer to. Yeah. Anyway.
So thank you, team. If we could, Murray, thank you for taking the time to come in. We'll now move on
Thank
to
you.
item 5.2.
We need to move and second that we receive comments from the
I can't hear you.
We need to move and second the comments from the public. The resolution.
The last resolution.
Yeah.
So can we have someone move the council receives the comments from members of the public? Can we have a move for that? Councillor Murch, seconder. Councillor Foreman, all those in favour say aye. Aye. Contrary no, carried. Thank you. We're now moving on to item 5.2, adoption approval of plan changes 47, 48 and 49, recommended decisions for notification.
Good afternoon, thank you, Your Worship and councillors. So this train of events has been in front of you several times and has been going on for quite a few years now. You'll remember it was originally part of our package of 6 plan changes that we took to the government for an exemption as part of the plan stop. Just because of the reform, they have put a hold on plan changes unless they receive an exemption. So this bundle of 3 were the first that received an exemption in full from the government to proceed. After that, they were approved by you to be notified, and then also you approved the commissioners to hear and make a recommendation to you on their decision. So that's brought us to this point today, and your decision that you have in front of you is that you can accept the decision, and from that point it is then approved to be notified and is available for submitters to appeal that decision if they disagree with it. The alternative option that you have is to send it back to commissioners, which you can outline any concerns you have, but as they're an independent commissioner, it is in their hands whether or not they agree or disagree with those thoughts. So I'll take the item as read and happy to take any questions.
Any questions? Councillor Foreman,
No, goes first.
you can fight amongst yourselves.
He named you.
Okay. Question number 1. Can you clarify if the overarching policy obligates the council to implement section 181 of the Settlement Act, in particular with regards to the Māori purposes zone?
Yes, the previous bundle of plan changes that we have done includes strategic directions, which has got a tangata whenua chapter and specifically takes components from Te Kaupapa Kaitiaki and puts them up in front of the district plan. So basically, in our view, plan change, the multi-purpose plan change was a direct implementation of that, because part of that direction is about allowing development on Māori land to occur more easily, and that's essentially what the purpose of the Māori purpose zone is. It frees up the district plan barriers because there are differences in Māori owned land. Often it's multiple owners on the title and so on. So it releases some of those barriers and from a district plan point of view on these specific sites. I will just note that there's 5 sites that have been identified for rezoning in the multi-purpose zone. So the multi-purpose zone chapter was all about implementing both the strategic directions which flow down from Te Kaupapa Katiaki.
Councillor Greenslade.
Thank you. I probably should have asked this previously, but I will ask it now. On page 55, and I have to find it myself.
Well, there's no panic. We can go to Councillor Woodward while you search
Well,
for
I can ask the question. I'm just saying on page 55. Can you explain to me, Hilary, what the thinking is behind having the urban coverage on the land at 60%, where across the Taupo district the urban coverage is 35% on land?
Sorry, can I just clarify the page number you're referring to? Is it the main?
55.
Oh, 40, thank you.
Oh, sorry. Oh, it's different. You've got different. So it's the MPZ 3 standards, rural and urban, maximum combined coverage.
Yeah.
So it's just, you just noted that it said 60% of the total area.
Yes.
Whereas, am I correct in thinking that a normal urban area is 35%?
So the normal urban area is 40% in general residential.
Okay.
So this does allow for an increased coverage, and that is recognising that in particular, because there's one urban multi-purpose zone proposed in this package, are often sites that include marae and associated buildings. So you're going to naturally end up with a higher coverage in those situations than you do in a typical residential situation. So it was about reflecting pretty much actually what's happening on the ground already, and reflecting that so that that can be used going forward with future sites. The urban one is actually already developed in the plan to that extent anyway. Okay, right. Yeah, so it's about reflecting that, and then moving forward, if there's further multi-purpose zones in the future, they kind of pick up what's realistic for that type of development in the future.
Okay, thank you very much. And am I right in thinking that Turangi-Tongariro Road is not actually pictured in here? I just wondered why. Because I don't actually have an address for it. We've got the lot number and everything, but not the actual address. With the others, you've actually given an address. So I wasn't really sure what the actual address of it was. It's the schedule 13.11. Have you got the actual, do you know what the address is?
I think we've put the legal descriptions
I know,
in.
but the others you've actually put the address in it, but that one you haven't. You've only put the illegal description, but no actual address.
I think because some of the those sites actually just end up with a State Highway 1 address, and they've actually got no...
No, it's Turangi-Tongariro Road. So it's actually the urban circular road that goes through Turangi. Anyway, you might like to get back to me on that one.
Yes. The key usually for planning instruments are the maps, because and if the map will show your correct geographical area. The schedules are kind of unusual really, but it was put in this case just as a sort of an added extra.
You have another question, Councillor Greenslade?
No, well, I have actually got another question. In the land which is backing onto the river, MPS -01, it looks like there's a driveway that goes down to the actual river, and it looks to me, does it actually connect to those islands in the middle of the river, or is that just the way that the map is actually coloured?
Yeah, so this is just in terms of what happens with geography over time, and that the river has moved over time, which you can see clearly from the aerial versus the actual property boundaries. So no, it doesn't go to the islands, it goes to the river.
Thank you. I thought that probably was the case. Thank you.
Councillor Woodward.
Thank you. Hi, team. So, cool. Just getting to know this, these plan changes, and I understand the purpose is to ensure that Māori landowners can develop their whenua easier. In the S42A report, it describes the process as co-design, but the submissions but they explicitly dispute that it wasn't co-design and that the framework wasn't developed in partnership with the affected hapu and marae. So just wondering, how do we reconcile those really different descriptions?
Well, I would suggest that the 5 sites that have been put into the multi-purpose zone, the people representing those landowners were submitters and were supportive and supported our process that we'd been through. There were other submitters that do not have any sites or were not involved as a landowner who suggested that we perhaps didn't engage with them enough. However, we attended all the hapu groups. We were available. Multiple letters and information sheets went out over a course of 2 years. So there was multiple chances prior to the first schedule process kicking off for engagement to occur.
Thank you. I understand engagement, but it explicitly says co-design in the report as part of the process. So I'm just wondering if there was specific co-design. There's also a mention of an iwi working group. Was that developed?
Yes, and yes, there was co-design occurred in that we basically started with an information sheet and said, what do you want this to be? And then moved through with a skeleton draft that was circulated round any partner that expressed an interest to be involved, and they contributed to that draft as it developed.
Do we have, so there is, a lot of feedback that we've got in there, but that specific feedback that helped shape the framework from those workshops and that hui, do we have that?
Yes.
Yeah. Do we have that on these in our agenda? I didn't see it.
No, it would have been summarised in the 42A report, which was that went along to the hearing panel. But the more detailed to and fro would be emails, which we can supply if necessary.
Yeah, there just seems to be a bit of a disputes throughout this process. And just back to when we were talking about the co-design and the engagement, which hapu was it that you were speaking of?
So Jade and Maya Wakira were the representatives of mainly Turangi-Tongariro hapu that have come on board with seeking a multi-purpose zone, because this was basically a voluntary process. It was done for iwi and hapu that wished for a multi-purpose zone on their land.
Just need to interrupt there and note that Councillor Leonard has left the room. Sorry, carry on. I should just add, due to a prior notification and commitment she had. Councillor Woodward, carry on if you have further questions.
I do have a couple others, but if anybody else has any, they can go ahead.
We do have others, but if you want to carry on, but if you want to break, we can.
Okay, thank you. Nope, that's cool. Okay, just a few questions about the consultant, the external consultant as well. Can we clarify the role of the external consultant through the different stages of plan change 47, from engagement, development of the provisions, section 32 assessment, and the subsequent subsequent Section 42A report?
The consultant was the planning expert. So to present planning expert in a hearing situation, you need to have a planning expert, and that was Rowan Sapsford and myself in addition at the hearing.
Just following on from that, where submissions challenged the adequacy or authenticity of that original engagement process, what independent assurance did we have when addressing these concerns, given the consultant was involved in developing and facilitating the process and was also involved in the S42A assessment?
Well, the decision from the independent commissioner has specifically commented on the level of consultation through the process, that it was what he would expect for that process.
So we feel that it was independent enough, is that what the commissioner is assuring us?
Yes. And there is an environment court process that is available for anyone who would wish to challenge that further.
Thank you. I'm just asking because I just want to be sure that we do always have that independence, and we want public confidence where the process itself has become an issue and been raised specifically by the submitters.
Thank you, Councillor Woodward. Councillor Taylor, followed by Councillor Birch.
Just at the risk of changing direction, just one of Councillor Murch, did you want to address the plan change 47? Because I'm going to, if you're happy, Your Worship, stay on this subject, because I've got a slightly different tack I'm going to go on. So I'll happy to hand the microphone to Councillor Murch. Carry on. We're talking about plan change 47. If we finish that off, then I'm going to change track on my question.
Yeah, thanks.
Councillor Murch.
Thank you. Thanks for the report. Does council have any Māori land planning experts in-house, or did we have any Māori land planning experts alongside the consultant when conducting that mahi, or do we not?
The consultant we use has a lot of experience in planning, including Māori land planning, and the submitters that were involved in the co-design, Jade and Maya,
yep.
They are both Māori land planning experts.
Okay, but the consultant that we used and in-house TDC, do we specifically have any Māori land planning experts?
Sorry, I just find that quite a difficult question to answer, because we are planning experts, and that includes Māori land planning aspects, myself and Rowan Sapsford as well. So does that answer your question?
Not really. Sorry, I guess a bit of context is just when we're looking at whenua Māori, it is significantly, you'll be aware, it's significantly different in comparison to general land title. And when we think about the land specifically within the district, if we switch and look at it from a tūwhare toa perspective primarily, which this land obviously fits within, I guess that's the context for my question is, did we have the knowledge of I suppose, tūwhare toatanga and the tikanga and the history and stuff like that when it comes to the Māori land specifically? I guess that's kind of a bit of context.
Yeah. So we're very aware of the differences with Māori land, and that is why we undertook this plan change as council. There was no requirement for us to do this plan change. We did it for the benefit of Māori landowners, and we worked alongside the Māori land owners and experts who came forward and wished to be involved in the planning because they had land that they wanted to be zoned. And we also, as with all our plan changes, kept in very regular contact and updates with our iwi partners, including the Tūwhare Toa trust entities.
Cool, awesome, thanks. And just supplementary to that, I guess it's around us trying to enable development of whenua Māori or unlock it, what type of evidence did we find or did we look at to support the statement that a MPZ, a multi-purpose zoning, would enable whenua land development?
So a really good example, because this is one that comes across our desk all the time, is that a Māori land owner will come forward and have a proposal that they wish to put forward, and we will say, I'm sorry, but that doesn't meet our district plan rules because your setbacks don't work, your coverage doesn't work, because although you've got one site, it's got multiple Māori partitions in it, and they all count as a land boundary, and so they don't work with our district plan. And so under the multi-purpose zone, your site becomes what you are being assessed on. So the internal boundaries and partitions cease to matter, and they don't apply in terms of your setbacks from boundaries, your coverage, and so that immediately takes away a whole bunch of frustrations and barriers that our current district plan puts up.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Taylor, I just noted that Councillor Woodward has also got a question. Do you want to go to her first or you?
It depends if you want to change direction. I'm happy to wait. My question is going to be on Plan Change 49, so
Councillor
if you want
Woodward,
to finish this one first, then fine.
Your question relates to?
47, thank you, Councillor
Okay, well, if you
Taylor.
would carry on then.
Thank you. I mean, I understand the intention behind this, and that's really great, but sort of following from what Councillor Murch was saying around the changes and the feedback that we've received, absolutely understand that you guys, this is your job. However, we need to consider the knowledge that that mana whenua have, and with the consultant and not having anybody specifically working with the consultant and the consultant doing their job. Was mana whenua included in deciding who the consultant was and have a say in that application?
No, they weren't. But I will challenge you actually on the fact that all submitters challenged us on our consultation, because that's actually not correct. Some submitters suggested we didn't consult enough, and there were others that said that our consultation was excellent. So it's not quite true that all submitters said we didn't consult enough.
No, sorry, apologies if that's what I exactly said. I was just saying that if you've had some submitters that have questioned it, it's worth asking the question on their behalf. Just lastly, on the plan change 47, but a little bit of a different track. Just wondering what the cost is ongoing for the ratepayer, as I see that the work is covered within our policy program in the long-term plan, but do we expect any further costs to incur?
It depends if the decisions are appealed to the Environment Court, and then yes, that is costly.
Right, yeah, okay. And sorry, just last question, going back before, with the consultation done with Rowan, what was the hapu that he consulted with?
It went all hapu around the district. It went to the hapu forum and was presented across the district at the beginning. So all hapu knew about it.
All
and
hapu
yes,
across the district.
it was presented to the
were
iwi
consulted
cluster,
directly
hapu cluster
by Rowan.
meetings. Apologies, yeah. Yes, absolutely.
Cluster
They get and excuse my frustration about this, because I've spent 4 years consulting with iwi and hapu on this, and so we have gone to every length to make sure that anyone who wished to be involved with this plan change could do so at the earliest possible stage.
Thank you for your patience, perseverance and dedication to this cause. Councillor Woodward, you said one last question. Have you got another last question,
Yes.
have you?
No, I don't have another question. I'm just saying thank you for answering, and I'm not trying to put you on the spot. I'm just wrapping my head around the process as well. It's always just making sure we're following the right processes. Thank you, guys.
You will. We're going to go to Councillor Foreman if Councillor Taylor doesn't
If I may, just before that, and thanks, Hilary, for your answers. If I just, and for all the questions that Councillor Woodward has asked, thank you for that. Can I just give you some assurance from the other side? So having sat as a RMA Commissioner on a number of plan changes, including private plan changes, including multiple owned Māori land, that the system and the process is incredibly robust, and the commissioners do take on board. In fact, the commissioners involved in this are those that I've sat next to on hearings panels in the past, and do take on board both positive and negative feedback and take it very seriously. Nothing is dismissed. So I guess if that helps with your reassurance around some of the questions you've asked. Legitimate questions, and I understand, but just in terms of my observation over a number of years is you can be confident that the job is done particularly robustly. And I do have a question, but I'm happy to defer
Thank
to
you.
Councillor
If I
Foreman.
wanted to be a true chairman, I'd be saying Councillor a question, but I'm not going to do that because we is there a supplementary question?
I do have a question, but that's...
Please proceed.
So can I just jump to plan change 49? I'm just conscious, and Hilary, this is a question I posed to you before. We had a meeting on 30th of June, council meeting. We had a fairly rigorous debate around rating units and the definition of that with kitchens and so on and so on. And we're looking at plan change 49, 3.1, the definitions of a residential unit. Can you just give us some assurance that if we sign this off, that isn't going to create for us a subsequent issue when we come to debate what rating units will be? And if you could explain the difference for us, please.
Yeah, so basically we are matching up this definition, which the definition has come from the National Planning Standards and is now sits within our district plan and our DC policy. We're deleting the little bit at the end, which was extra, which was from our old district plan, to match it up with the DC policy. They work together. Residential unit, a rating unit is slightly different again. And so that has a different definition for rating purposes as differentiated from the RMA and resource consenting purposes.
Great, thank you. So my concern is that we approve this, we sign it off, that doesn't have a knock-on effect when that policy decision comes back to us in the future, which it will very shortly, no doubt.
Yeah, we're essentially tidying this up to ensure that the DC policy and the district plan have the same definition. Rating units are kind of over here by themselves.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Councillor Foreman.
Back to 47. Just wanting to be clear about what from here then, if these are confirmed today, what is the process to go through Māori Purposes Zone after this point?
Yep. So the decision, if approved today, then gets notified, and all the submitters will be notified of that decision. They've already been circulated the decision to date anyway. But from that point that it's notified, they have 20 working days to lodge an appeal under the Environment Court. I believe it's $500. I think it was still $500, and they just need to fill in a form that is prescribed by the RMA to do that.
So sorry, I was talking about if anybody else outside of those original submitters, because I understood there were quite a few hapu that just wasn't quite the right time. So what
Sure,
process
sorry.
for them if they wanted to follow through?
Yep. So our next, unfortunately, it's just getting harder and harder to do plan changes. So the next logical input is going to be when we do our land use plan under the new Planning Act. But this is part of the reason why it's beneficial to get our Māori Purpose Zone in now, because it's then, we've got those provisions there, it's set up, we've got something in the district already, and then adding to that over time is easier because you're just changing colours on a map rather than then looking at the provisions. So it will be through the land use plans that we will develop in due course.
So I'm trying to understand what the land use ones in relate is that does that
It's our
come
new
after
district plan.
the
Regional spatial plan.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
So way down the track.
Yeah, it will be a little while. The alternative is that landowners can lodge a private plan change. They can still continue under plan stop, but yeah, costs. Yeah.
Councillor Woodward, I see you sitting there, but Councillor Campbell.
Well, look, just a question. Look, my perception of a hindrance to developing communal Māori land is that they find it very hard to get loans from banks. And I just wonder, are you aware, does this in any way or form address that hindrance, or are you aware of any moves afoot to somehow address that problem?
Yeah, and I think some of the banks are getting more understanding of Māori land and financing that, and a multi-purpose zone will help in that respect, in that there is more certainty around the development rights for that property. So you can turn up to the bank and say, well, this is how much I can develop on my piece of land, and therefore seek finance for that. So it does provide clarity and certainty. What else the banks do, probably a little bit outside my reach, sorry.
So, Councillor Woodward, I'm mindful time's wandering on here, but Councillor Woodward, you have a question or two.
Yes, thank you. I think just one. I'll be quick. Just on our advantages and disadvantages and our analysis of options that we've got in our report, it doesn't identify any substantive disadvantages to adopting the recommendation or advantages to not adopt. Is it realistic that a plan change of this scale has no disadvantages or trade-offs, or is there a specific reason that we've got that there?
Can I just clarify, are you talking about it in our agenda paper or in the actual plan change documentation?
In the agenda paper of ours for our analysis of options on the recommendations.
So the only two options you have are to either accept the decision, recommended decision, or send it back to the Commissioner. That are the only two options that you have.
Yes.
Yep.
And in our analysis underneath them, we've got your advantages and your disadvantages.
Yep.
And for the first option, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 advantages. And then on the disadvantages side, it says no disadvantages have been verified. And then for option 2, 5 disadvantages, and for advantages, no advantages have been identified. So my question is it realistic for us to put those there, or is there a specific reason that we've written that?
I guess that's just comes down to officers' opinion and recommendation to you that we did not consider that there were any advantages or disadvantages. I guess that's your role, whether you question that or not.
Okay, councillors, it is an important issue. We've gone round and round and given this plenty of time, I feel. We have a recommendation on the screen. We do need to move on, but if anyone has an urgent matter that would significantly change that's important. It's getting a bit late. So do we have a mover for the recommendations 1, 2 and 3 on the screen? Mover by Councillor Greenslade. Is there a seconder? Councillor Taylor. I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour say aye. Contrary, no. Carried.
I'll abstain, please.
You wish to abstain? Noted. And
I wish to
Councillor
abstain as well.
Councillor Woodward, you want to abstain, and Councillor Foreman, you wish to abstain. Thank you, ladies, for your effort. I'm sorry about the in-depth cross-examination, but obviously is an important
Sorry,
item.
Your Worship, just
Yes.
a minor technical matter here. I note 3 councillors have abstained. Can I just, for the sake of clarity, there are 3 points in this recommendation, and one of them has 2 sub-points. Is it you're abstaining from the entire vote, or just the lengthy conversation we had on the Māori purpose zone, because I think that's important, because part of this is delegating the policy manager to make minor editorial changes. Are you abstaining from that as well? I just ask you seek clarity on that, please.
Councillor Woodward, you're first up on this.
Okay, well, to be fair, I did actually have a question quickly on Plan Change 48 as well. I felt like we were just rushed through that. We had quite a long public forum this morning. I understand that. I understand we've got a big agenda to get through, but we can't rush through every single decision, which is why I've chosen to abstain. We were just told carry on. So I'm abstaining because I don't feel we've actually had the full time on this item. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Woodward. Councillor Foreman.
Was there a question?
Are you abstaining to all of that?
Yeah.
Or not three, so that they can do minor editorial?
Councillor Foreman already said at the start that she wouldn't vote on it, right?
Yeah. Well, she's already answered and said abstaining to all three. So,
Yeah,
Councillor Foreman, are you abstaining from all three?
to be clear, I'll abstain from all three. Just
Thank you very much.
because of
Councillor
the
Murch.
conflict.
I'll abstain from Plan Change 47, subsection A, Māori purpose zone, but I'm happy to support the rest of the recommendation.
Okay. So clarified for you, Deputy, and the staff. We're all happy on that. Thank you. Thank you, ladies. Item 5.3, approval of operation and capital carry forward for 2025-26 to 2026-27. Ladies, welcome. Jeanette, are you leading us?
Yes, I am, Your Worship. Kia ora, Your Worship and councillors. I just wanted to cover off the main points of the item, but we'll take it as read and open to any questions. The budgets that we carry, the budgets that we're carrying forward have already been approved in previous annual plans or the LTP. 98% of the carry forward is for projects that are currently in progress or have confirmed commitments against them. The main reasons that we're carrying forward these budgets is they're either multi-year projects, so a large construction project that goes over several years and there's budget in a number of years, or they're single-year projects that have had some form of slippage for a variety of reasons that are outlined in the paper. So I'm happy to take any questions, but I would take it as read, but Sarah would like to add.
Yeah, through the chair, I did just want to add that we did commit to council that we would reduce this over the 3 years post long-term plan, so our last long-term plan 2024, and I do want to thank the team for their work on this over the last 3 years, because we were in quite a position of a large carry forward program and have worked really hard to try and reduce that. Notwithstanding, there's still work to do, and we do recognise that, and the other paper coming up as well, talking about forecasting and the deliverability of the capital program. But I do really want to thank you guys and our teams for making a substantial difference in this space.
Thank you. Jeanette, do you any questions? Councillor Taylor.
We're in questions or debate?
We're question time first. Any other question? If not, we're into debate, ladies. Councillor Taylor.
Can I just echo our Acting Chief Executive's comments there? This is an issue that I've raised a number of times over a number of years, and it has been a significant concern, so thank you to the team. And I see Penel has just come in for the project management team for knocking this back significantly. Still a ways to go, but my concern is that we have rated members of the community to deliver projects which we haven't delivered, and that's a major concern, and we're actually getting on top of it, and I think that's a really positive step in the right direction, so thank you.
And I would add my bit to it. We've also will have incurred significant costs as a result of fuel increases. So, any of this, I'm not too stressed about the carry forward myself. Any other, Councillor Cameron?
Bit like Councillor Taylor, I've sort of been banging on about the carry forwards as well, just understanding how much pressure that puts on future budgets. So I'm really pleased with what the team's been able to pull together, and I know that some of these reports take a lot of time and effort, and forecasting reports in particular. So just noting that a lot of work has gone into it. In the private sector, it's done a lot more frequently because it's such a good tool. And just want to acknowledge the work that's been done. Really, really good work that's been done. Thank you.
Councillor Woodward.
Thank you. Yep, just similar there. It's just good to see that we've had quite a drop in the last few years for the carry on, so I'm happy with that. Thank you.
Actually, through the chair, if I may, I note that another agenda item, we're talking about annual plans. So just give this some consideration during that discussion, because the more we delay, the more this number increases. Just FYI.
Any further commentary from anyone? If not, we have a recommendation on the screen there.
Happy to move.
Who was that? Councillor Cameron. Seconder?
Yep.
Councillor Delator.
Yep. You're onto it.
All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary, no. Anyone abstaining? If not, carried. Thank you, everyone. We're now on to item 5.4.
Hi. So, Your Worship, you requested further advice on the ability to review the work program for the current year and to look at potential budget reductions, and so this is our response to that request. If the council wanted to make significant changes to the levels of service of significant activities without triggering an expensive and time-consuming long-term plan, that would be quite difficult for us to do, considering that we've already started the new long-term plan process, so we can't do an amendment and a long-term plan at the same time. So what we are suggesting is that you let our reforecasting mechanism go ahead, which we're literally going to be starting this week, to look at our annual budget for capital and to work out whether there's anything that needs delaying or rescoping or cancelling and so forth, to see where we can get to with a realistic delivery value for our current year's budgets. So if you would like us to look at anything specific, which you have the complete list attached to the item, now's your opportunity to bring that to our attention, and we will look at that as part of our reforecasting exercise.
So I appreciate there are work programs underway, and it would be wrong to interfere with those, but there may well be, and I think you've already done it, some that programs that can be delayed or deemed not essential, but where commitments and contracts have been made, it would be very expensive to undo it. So right, that's the John Fennell view. That's why I asked the team to look at it to see where we can save costs, because my interest is in reducing the rate increases where we can at every opportunity. And as the acting chief executive pointed out probably an hour and a half ago, the government has advised with rates cap have to be between 2% and 4%. That's what we're aiming for. Councillor Woodward.
Thank
Questions?
you. Yes, thank you for these reports. Can I please confirm, so in the agenda paper, where we've got all of our capital projects listed, so what's highlighted in blue is what you're saying could be looked at to be deferred or reduced?
When we do reforecasting, councillor, we look at the whole program, but what we're trying to point out is that many of the items that are in the capital program are actually quite difficult to remove because of what they are or how they're funded. So the ones that are highlighted in blue are the ones that we could look at, the level of service projects, which actually do have an impact on rates in coming years, not in the current year.
Thank you. I find that a little bit frustrating or interesting because I see the Monkey-Kino Lakefront Development Plan is highlighted in blue.
Yeah, through the chair, sorry, I probably provided a slightly different angle to that. The reason the blue ones were highlighted was because they're level of service projects. So level of service projects have a direct impact on rates and lending. Renewals, of course, are funded by your depreciation funding, which you already receive, and again we've got financial prudence measures that require us to look after the assets we've got. So renewals were somewhat that's why renewals weren't highlighted. Growth is covered from our development contributions fundamentally, so they are not funded through your lending and subsequent rates impact. Our level of service are your biggest opportunity to reduce any impact on rates in future years. So that's why they were highlighted rather than them being where we think we should look. It was highlighting for you those opportunities which can impact rates in future years.
Yeah, I'd really like to make sure that that's not ever touched. Thank you.
Are there any further questions? Councillor Cameron.
Actually, no, I don't have a question. I have more of a statement, actually, so I'll wait for debate.
Councillor Mertz, did you have a question or are you waiting for debate? That being the case, we're in debate.
Go, Rachel. No, you go.
Yeah, thank you through the chair. Look, I'm struggling to understand why this is an agenda item right now, because the paper that we are looking at was presented to us when we voted on the annual plan. That would have been the time to make any cuts if there were going to be any, and we decided at the time that there weren't any to cut because they're either waters, which are required by law, or potentially transport, which means we'd lose our NZTA subsidy. So there were very good reasons why, albeit a little unhappily, we approved the 6.6% rate increase for the annual plan. And I also included in my email, I felt that this time would be better spent strategising our long-term plan discussions where we can actually have some effect on ongoing rates. We delay something now, we're already rating for it, which means it does not change the 6.9%, and in fact just adds a % or two to next year's budget. So if we're really serious about making cuts, we need to put our focus on the LTP and not the annual plan that we've already voted on, and the only way we can change that substantially is to go out and consult, which we're about to do for the long-term plan. So I'm a little frustrated that this is an agenda item and it's taking up staff time. I don't see the merits at this point, understanding all of the context.
My apologies, that was at my request. I was looking to see what could be taken out of the annual plan to reduce the costs going forward. So, Councillor Merge.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
I would like to respond to that if I can.
Yeah, talk in there.
Yeah.
You'd like to what?
Yeah.
I'd quite like to respond to that if I can.
Go ahead.
And this is with the utmost respect, Your Worship, but I think perhaps you didn't understand what our limitations were with the annual plan already being passed. Anything that we do now to delay will affect next year's rates. Nothing we do at this point is going to be able to make a material difference without there being some very serious unintended consequences. And I sent an email outlining that in full when this discussion was first raised. And I also made my point known in a catch-up. So once again,
Councillor, I'm not going to waste everyone's time debating this with you. Happy to talk to you about it offline later on. Now, who's next, Councillor?
Me. Thanks. Yeah, look, I kind of became aware that we were going to revisit this paper via social media, and I too sent a bit of an email out, if councillors would recall. And I guess my question was just around the process and how much weight a council decision holds. When we make a decision around the table, I mean, that decision was opposed to by two councillors, only two councillors around this table, and then now we're a couple of months in and we're reviewing it. just by looking at the information, I guess my fundamental position remains the same. It's very obvious that a good chunk of the annual plan costs are absorbed by the regulated water services projects, and I really struggle with how we're gonna reduce those costs within an annual plan. So I guess I'm with Rachel in terms of looking at the long-term plan and focusing our effort on where we can make a bigger impact. I appreciate the staff for bringing this back to the table, but I guess my fundamental position is that we've made the decision. It's real hard. I mean, it sucks. It sucks that anybody has to increase rates, but when you see the breakdown like this on our paper, you can quite clearly see that more than half of that, 38 million, is regulated through water service delivery projects, and we can't. That's not up to us. That's coming from central government. So, in looking at all of the other projects, even if we did delay, like Rachel said, it's only going to cost us more in the future. So I'd be very wary about delaying anything as well. That's my views. Thank you.
I stand to be reprimanded again. More than happy to explain it to you offline. I don't want to waste all your time here debating it. Councillor Campbell.
I've got one more for you. Coming your way. Look, the main reason I didn't put my vote of approval to the latest annual plan is because I believe reporting is insufficient, especially on the high value projects, and I don't just mean an annual plan, I mean all through the year. Look, when more than a month ago, when elected members were asked which projects we wanted further information on, I identified approximately 20 higher value projects, and that's more, $500,000 and over, and requested brief reports, just 1 to 2 pages, setting out reasonable practicable options for each, including any implications of rescoping or deferring or not proceeding at all, to get together with half a dozen specific questions on some of the smaller value items. I have not received those reports or even answers to my half dozen questions, which I believe could have been answered in 10 minutes or less if forwarded to the right staff in the know. Look, a couple of weeks ago I chased these questions up, and Your Worship stepped in to say that the staff don't have the time, so I just have to treat every question I submit now to be treated as a legoima so I can receive them within the statutory 20 working days.
I'm getting a good whipping today. Thank you, Councillor. We're going to go to Councillor Greensley, if we could.
Thank you. Yes, I'm a little concerned about the presentation of this report. I probably should have asked Jeanette, really. I believe that, a bit like Councillor Murch, that because so much of this contains stuff that's to do with water, the water stuff should have been extracted and put separately. It's not in our rates any longer, in as much as it's not included in the rates cap. And I think to look at it like this, just all jumbled up together, and also the fact that we've got financial separation now for our water services is making this, I mean, it's just about like a jigsaw puzzle really, and I don't think it should have been presented in this manner. But having said that, it's a waste of time to go through and do it again. I think we need to be very clear going forward that when we're going to have water and other things, they should be separated out, because the water service is not included in the rates cap.
Yeah, through the chair, sorry, I will respond. I know you're in debate, but just respond to your question. So you are correct that we have financially separated waters as of 1st of July. However, from a planning perspective, and again, that was the alignment with the long-term plan, that is not separated until the next long-term plan, where you'll do a long-term plan and water service strategy. In hindsight, should we have reported the figures separately, as in here's your rates increase, here's your water rates increase? Yeah, that's probably what we should have communicated, but for transparency purposes, we left them together for the last year, that they will be together because we have been required to split waters and the rest of council off financially as a result of the water services legislation. So you are correct, and did I say the rates cap applies from 2029? And for us to consider in the next long-term plan as well.
Councillor Cameron.
Just a last plug and a last push. our previous paper was on bringing the carry forward numbers down, the figure down, and the importance of that. And here we are looking at delaying work that will just add to that figure. It doesn't make sense. We need to get into detailed design for some of these things too, or we're already in detailed design and spent lots of money. So, we're already rating at a 6.6% rates increase. That's not going to change no matter what we do at this point. We are not going to be able to change that 6.6%. So once again, I'm imploring everybody to look at how the process works, why things are put in place the way that they are. The annual plan was voted on back in fact, a day before we started rating. So absolutely no changes to this program of works is going to change the 6.9% figure or what we invoice for rates. That's the bottom line. Nothing we do at this point is going to make any difference to the ratepayer before the next long-term plan. So we've just got to be careful about our processes, our resources, and the way we spend our time.
We also need to be careful of the increased costs that this council's going to face, and that's what we were looking at. So, Councillor Campbell.
Oh, yes. Look, I do have one more thing to say. I think certainly one more thing. And it's not aimed at you, Your Worship. It's not aimed at, this one's not aimed at you. Look, the Northern Gateway investigation is listed at 154,000. I oppose that work going ahead until we get briefed on what it comprises, because as most of you should be aware, I hold that the previous work, which cost around 300,000 or 6 firework displays, was flawed. That's my new currency now. Was flawed, I maintain, and undertaken with a predetermined outcome that we need, and that we absolutely need an additional bridge. And I believe practicable options were not properly explored. Now, last count, it was $70 million line item got added into our long-term debate, long-term plan, without any debate in chambers, and I hold our Deputy Mayor directly responsible for that, because he was the one heading up the steering group which kept the rest of us in the dark through that process. That's my view of that. And it was only due to my notice of motion a couple of years ago that we were even granted a workshop to explain the findings nearly a year after the event. So I would like that addressed, please.
Councillor Taylor.
If I may. Thank you. And I'm happy to accept responsibility for a line item that a vast majority of the community said they wanted. A significant number of those who owned land, who were part of the Nukaho private plan change, are waiting on a second bridge before they can even start developing their land and building houses. And that's fine. And I'll actually go one step further. You can blame me or thank me for putting that as a line item in the 2024-2034 Waikato Regional Transport Plan in the list of projects. You'll find it there. But if you're kept in the dark, respectfully, read your agendas, read the papers and the information that's made available. You'd be less darkened and more enlightened if you just did that a little more often.
Councillor Woodward, can we hear from you?
Well, through the Chair, can I just ask a question?
Yes, Campbell, Duncan, you can go.
Well, look, I certainly challenge Councillor Taylor that I asked him, when did we have the debate about this issue in these chambers? Because I don't remember it. In the last term at chambers, I don't remember the debate.
Look, we're going to get into I said, he said, she said, they said. The councillor's memory or lack thereof is not something I can help him with.
Well, I'll tell you what, my memory is pretty good, and it's a question to you because there was no debate.
Okay, we're going to go to Councillor Woodward. We do need to move on. We seem to be getting, it's been a long day, it's getting a bit tired. Councillor Woodward, we cut you off.
Yes. Yes, well, I was just going to say that perhaps if you weren't entirely happy with the projections, then you should have voted against the annual plan like Councillor Campbell and I. Rachel is right. Nothing we do now is going to change rates right now. And again, lastly, we need to make sure that if we are looking at any projects, especially considering the Mangakino project is on there, that we look at historic under investment first and make sure that we assess any deferrals properly. Happy to move this motion and go to the next.
Okay, we need to move on. We've got a recommendation on the screen there. Oh, Councillor Mananui, you haven't had a voice on this yet.
Just last thing, I think, probably in support of Mayor John there, is this, there is a reforecast coming, so it's not completely locked in stone.
That is exactly right.
The interesting part is, I think, with our, excuse me, carry forward on the CapEx projects, which would take that to 107. Is that realistically deliverable? So I think that's a key piece here. That's all.
Thank you. I do need to move this along because I think it's going, we're not going to approve much here. There's a recommendation on the screen.
I just want to point out with the forecasting and the reforecasting, yes, there is some movement there, but it stays within budget. So that isn't going to change anything either.
No, we've got a recommendation on the screen there. If no one will move it, I will.
Councillor Woodward moved
Thanks.
it. Councillor Woodward moved it.
Oh, did he? Did she? Councillor Woodward, thank you for moving that. Is there a seconder?
Yeah, you can second it.
Councillor Mananui, put it to the vote. All those in favour, say aye. Contrary, no. Thank you for your contribution. Caused a bit of vigorous debate there. Now we're moving on to item 5.5. Jeanette.
Hello again. The item in front of you is to do with the delegation of the Chief Executive. Sorry, just let me catch up on my papers here. The key distinction in relation to this paper is whether we should undertake something and council decides to undertake something and they authorise management to implement that decision. So you make decisions through the long-term plan, the annual plan, specific resolutions and policies, and delegations then allow management to implement those decisions within the approved parameters. We have a procurement framework, and it provides a further layer of control around how contracts are procured, evaluated and awarded. A $1 million delegation does not give the Chief Executive authority to spend $1 million on something council has not authorised, budgeted for, or is outside the processes which have been approved by council. So I'll leave that there. If anyone has any questions, I'm sure we will be able to assist.
Are there any questions from the table? Councillor Greenslade.
Just confirm what the current figure is, please, Jeanette.
Currently, it's in the agenda item. Yeah. Currently, it is unlimited it's not unlimited. It's at the amount of the approved project in a long-term plan or whatever. So if there's a budget of 14 million, as long as the contract she's approving is within that budget for that project, she can approve it.
So what's the rationale for changing it in that case, since she's got really what feels like quite a fluid sort of arrangement at present? Why would we change it?
Yeah, through the chair, we were asked to revisit this traineum, understanding it was previous traineum that made the decision in relation to operational efficiency. As per the report, we do see justification in removing some of those more higher risk contract decisions to council. Again, fundamentally, it doesn't change a lot given it's already been through a procurement process before it would get to council, for which there's a panel that assesses them within a range of conditions and within those procurement frameworks, so things such as conflicts and that sort of thing are addressed. So it comes to council in that form. However, it does support the Chief Executive with some of those multi-year high value projects, taking a bit of the risk off them.
So
Count-
from what
Well,
I'm feeling, it is actually in some ways lowering what she would normally have had, because normally if it was 15 million she could do it, whereas we're saying actually $1 million beyond that it needs to come to us. Okay, that's really good. Those are great answers. Thank you.
Councillor Cameron.
If anything, this gives us a little bit of extra oversight, doesn't it? So on top of the reforecasting, we also could implement this and then have greater oversight on a monthly reporting basis. Yeah, great.
Councillor Taylor.
So conscious that just in response to Councillor Greenside, it does two things. One is it provides a level of protection for the Chief Executive and puts the onus back on us as the ultimate sign-off. And secondly, it aligns us with other councils of a similar size with the processes and policies they've got. So it actually puts us back into pretty much the fold of what everyone else is doing.
Councillor Foreman.
Yeah, after reading the paper, it was more of a why would we change? Because all I'm seeing here there's going to be more delays and more has to come back here for discussion when we've already approved it. So I'm trying to understand how much of an impact is this actually going to have on just more churn and therefore going to cost more time. Yeah, so have we got that right? Because I get that other councils have implemented this and it pulls us in line with them, but at the same time we've got so much going on. I don't want to keep burdening staff on unnecessary processes.
Yeah, through the chair, that was the consideration when we wrote this report, and you could see the pros and cons of each, and efficiency was of particular mention throughout the options. So I guess, will it affect staff? It absolutely will. Will it delay projects? It absolutely will. We've tried to really balance that governance oversight with efficiency, and again, I think we looked, and there would be approximately 1 to 2 contract awards each month coming to council. So we'd hoped we hit, kind of that nice balance with our recommendation. However, to Councillor Taylor's point, it does bring us more in line with our peers. Although there are similar sized councils, neighbouring councils, who go up to 5 and 15 million. Oh, sorry, it might be 10 million, sorry, Jeanette, 10 million in their delegation. So it's not like our unlimited within the budget is massively outside of that, because we don't award too many contracts above that value anyway. But there's arguments for both. However, our recommendation is the $1 million.
Can someone explain to me the 6-week delay? How's that?
Through the chair. So when someone assesses a contract from tender and they decide, right, this is the successful applicant. We have, the council meeting, say they decided it 3 days ago, they can't meet this meeting. They have to take it to the next meeting. And so you could be looking at up to 6 weeks from when you've assessed a contract to when you can actually get it to a meeting for approval.
That's understood, but you could delegate that authority to the mayor or the deputy mayor or an executive where it's over a certain amount, because other organisations do just that.
Yeah, through the chair, the recommendation is to come back to council. You're correct. If you wanted to delay, there is a middle ground where, and other councils have the mayor, not an executive member, but a governance member, then get a memo and approve that outside of the council meeting. That is a possibility if you wanted to look at that delegation. However, again, we believe we found the right balance of that governance oversight and efficiency through the recommendation of $1 million. But again, I'll leave it to you in your debate to decide.
Councillor Foreman, I think I may have cut you off, I'm sorry.
I kind of follow up on what you had said before, because I was wondering what are the other options other than just moving that threshold. What were the other options that other councils have done to ensure that oversight, but also not muck around?
Yeah, through the chair, most of the other councils do this and bring it back to council, but again, making sure that we propose a reasonable limit, and again that's what comes back to the $1 million. If you wanted less to come to council, or you thought that was too risk averse and governance oversight might want to be set to be higher, then you can propose a different figure. And like I said, the majority of councils do that. However, there are a few, and struggling to name them at the moment, but there are a few that do delegate different levels to the mayor or other elected members to make that decision outside of a meeting as well, to provide that oversight without delaying the process.
Who have we got? It's Mr. Councillor Woodward.
Thank you. Just on that 6-week one, would there be the possibility that you could call an extraordinary council meeting to make that decision instead of having to wait as well? Is that an option?
Yeah, it's just through the chair, and probably because I've got governance in my portfolio, that does put pressure elsewhere, as in the governance team, to call meetings, to do all the meeting processes, hold meetings, produce agendas. So again, you're moving the efficiency, but probably somewhere else rather than actually solving getting that through quicker.
Councillor Cameron. Oh, sorry, Councillor Woodward. Councillor Cameron.
You mentioned at the beginning that there was a request for this paper. Can I ask what necessitated the need for this discussion, if it was working before?
It was working before, but all the boards I've been in, there are limits. And they
so you've asked for the paper? Because I just heard that they were asked to draft the paper, and I wondered if that came from us. But it hasn't, it's come from you. Okay, all right, I see. I just did wonder if it was the CEO, that was all, just given it gives her an extra level of protection.
Probably originated from me. It's not unusual for boards to have a limit. Doesn't need to go to the mayor, but it should. One of the options is to go to a member of the executive.
Are we in debate still, or now?
Yeah. And questions.
I'm just, I'll wait if we're in debate, because I've got a couple of comments I want to make.
Let's go into debate then.
All right. My concern is that we do need to protect the chief executive in terms of decision making, and we as governors need to accept the responsibility for decisions we make. So I think it is appropriate to come back here. But I'm also concerned around the efficiency and the cost that will incur to ratepayers as a result of delays in that. And I wonder if there is a middle ground where, if there is going to be a delay of more than, pick a number of weeks, that can come to the mayor as an interim and then reported back to the next meeting. Effectively, this is going to be a rubber stamping exercise by the time it comes to us anyway, unless there are some major issues. So we're not going to be in the position of second guessing a robust, lengthy procurement process at all. And if that's what we think we're doing, then we need to have a more robust debate about that. So I wonder if we can have, whether it's $1 million or we bump it to $2 million, and if there's a delay period in there, we have an interim step where it comes to the mayor, and we pick a number of weeks out from a meeting, and then that allows the business to flow, but maintains a level of governance, oversight and safety.
I agree. Councillor Campbell.
Oh, you going? Oh, okay. So look, I found this paper interesting and revealing, and I think it revealed the reasons that the term before last decided to take away the limits, actually. Because I can see exactly now what's been happening is that these papers have ended up, this is the term before last, and what we're proposing to go back to. And by the way, I do agree with limits, a limit. I would tend more towards 500,000 rather than $1 million. When I looked at the a couple of years ago annual plan list of capital projects, that would mean about 20 reports a year, probably less because some of them are carry-ons from the previous year. So a report that was my looking at the capital works program. So I didn't think requiring that was too onerous. So I agree with the intent of what we're putting. I agree with the limit, but I think to make it more than just a rubber stamping exercise, because I think that's probably what it was and could end up being here, this is a very big problem. I mean, the paper identifies the problem. It tells us that by the time a tender comes here for approval, the tender documents might have been prepared, suppliers have provided the contract, and officers have completed their assessment. At that point, governance here can approve or decline the tender, but it's too late to influence what was actually tendered in the first place, which was the bigger problem. Look, I just gave that example before about the Northern Gateway. I have doubts that the second bridge is absolutely necessary. That's a fundamental assumption which needed to be addressed early on, rather than just before the contract for the second bridge is let. Look, if the purpose of this change is genuinely to allow elected members to test assumptions and consider strategic implications, as the report implies, then that opportunity has to occur earlier while practicable alternatives are still genuinely available. So I am therefore, in addition to this, asking for a report back from the CE on some earlier governance gateways for significant projects. I don't want council assessing tenders or interfering in procurement, because that effectively is a rubber stamping exercise. And I want us to be involved in the important governance questions before procurement begins. What are we actually asking the market to deliver? What alternatives were considered, and why is this the preferred solution? And that has to come before we get a paper here with a tender document to sort of sign off. So I've worded an addition to this, if I can spell it out. It doesn't take long, but I wonder if it's my suggested addition to this recommendation. If anyone's taking shorthand, do they still do that shorthand? Or my suggested addition to this is that council requests the chief executive to report back to council on a pre-procurement governance gateway for significant projects. We can call that over the value of $500,000 or $1 million, but I'd prefer $500,000, to ensure elected members have an opportunity to consider the project scope, practicable options, estimated costs, and key strategic risks before the procurement process commences and before the project has substantially committed to a particular solution. I think having something like that is essential to actually make it more than a rubber stamping exercise.
Thank you, Councillor Cameron.
Campbell.
We can just stand by. Did you get that, or do you want the hard? He does have a hard copy. Oh, you wait till we more debate. Who?
Yeah.
Councillor Taylor.
So if I can help, budgets are set by council through planning processes, annual plans and long-term plans, and form the basis of a proposed work program. They reflect the agreed levels of service set through the long-term plan following appropriate consultation with the community. Council has a procurement policy in place and procurement processes that need to be followed by all levels of the organisation, and I could go on. Not my words, that's in the agenda. Further to that, we have a reforecasting program which we're going to be brought forward. Every line item in the budget we get to look at in detail, and we get to discuss and debate and excuse me, and consult on. So effectively, and I hear what Councillor Campbell's saying, but to do that, we would then be going out on an annual plan and long-term plan, asking the community what they want, putting things in that they will ask us to do, and then unilaterally dismissing that later on without further consultation. That's effectively what we're asking to be done if we follow that process. If we come back to the recommendation we've got, I believe we can refine that if we adjust the $1 million, and I'm going to see it up, not down, because the paper does highlight an issue. It's not that the system is broken, it's just that we need better checks and balances and safety mechanisms, both for the Chief Executive and ourselves as governors. And if we adjust that figure upwards and have words around a delay which is going to cause cost escalations, and that would be the example that Jeanette gave, if a contract is let or a tender is agreed 3 days before a meeting, and that kicks into your 6 weeks, where the mayor can tentative or can approve that and report back to the meeting. It is absolutely a rubber stamping exercise, but we have multiple opportunities throughout the course of the business that we conduct to engage meaningfully in weeding out these projects and agreeing to them. And I don't see that that system is necessarily broken.
I agree with you, Councillor, provided we've got the ability to revisit it and reforecast. Councillor Campbell.
Yeah, well, through Chair, I'll just give two examples here. 600,000 on Roberts Street angle parking, and we've just spent $1 million on a Napier Road pedestrian bridge. They never came before us for any scrutiny whatsoever. They might have been a little line item in an annual plan. What I'm talking about is reporting to us about projects like that of substantial value. I'll put a number, $500,000 up. Reporting to us before the contract tender goes out. I mean, it's a bit pointless them arriving and reporting to us with a, hey look, we've got this $1 million contract ready for you to sign up. It's all ready to go. I mean, that's too late. We need to hear about. We need to be reported throughout the year on these projects as they get developed. It's how it works in other places I've worked. I don't see why it can't work here.
Councillor Cameron.
I just want to point out that these delegations don't change overall budgets at all. We still have to stick to our annual plan budgets, our long-term plan budgets. It's just how we use that budget. So creating a mountain out of a molehill a wee bit and going off topic. So if we want to have greater control over projects, that's what the long-term plan process is for. We're going into that. Ask all of your questions. If you've got questions about those sorts of things, that's the time. And I implore all of the elected members around the table, because we started our long-term plan process and nobody seemed all that keen to cut. But that's our opportunity. That's when we can look at better efficiencies. And if we make a promise to the public through our long-term plan, that's essentially what we're doing. We're making a legal promise to the community through our long-term plan that we're going to deliver something. We have to deliver it. If we aren't going to deliver it, we have to go back out and consult. So we've just got to use the processes that we've got.
Yeah, I'm happy to go ahead with what the staff have actually proposed here, but I am struggling at the amount of time we're spending on matters that we could be debating in the long-term plan and having full conversations in there, and why we're wasting the time here when it is coming. And I would have preferred to have spent time doing that, because there's a lot that we've put on hold over the last few months and we just need to get into it.
Councillor.
Oh, may I go first?
Oh, Councillor Delatorre.
Thanks. Could I just get clarification from CEO as to the two things that Duncan's brought up? Is there, just first term councillor question, I apologise, line items that can be used for discretionary purposes, like it might say, you know, parking, or it might say something or other, that then the CEO can, if it's under a certain level, okay? Or are those two examples were in the annual plan that just weren't seen by the councillor?
Yeah, through the chair, the examples given were the bridge and what were the two?
Napier Road.
Napier Road.
I guess more in general, is there, I'd like to know if there are line items that can be used under discretion, or if it's all very detailed, because it's two very different things we're talking about, if that's the case.
Yeah, so the long-term plans are very detailed. If you'll remember, councillors, they're a couple hundred pages long, including project lists, significant projects, details on consultation with the community, and quite a significant process. Lots of debate around this table, hearings, submissions. Process has been followed to get those in there. So.
Are there areas in the budgets that we then get confirmed that the CEO can choose to, reshuffle or something under a certain level? Yes, they can choose to reshuffle that, even if as long as it stays under the budget that we've confirmed in that particular area.
And for the purposes for which it has been put in the budget for. So, for example, you can't, if we had road surfacing renewals, you can't then put that for water. New water treatment plant.
Understood.
Look, through the chair, I mean, it's when you get to long-term plans, there are hundreds of line items. What I am suggesting is for the higher value line items, 500. I'm saying 500,000 and up, and we might be talking, well, for over a single year's projects anyway, and it can apply to annual plans, that comprises about, in terms of capital works, about 20, it would be 20 projects that would need reporting on, and one at a time, because it's actually not humanly possible to scrutinise hundreds of line items for everything all at one time, provided. And you're given not much information on anything anyway. Like, for example, the Napier Road Bridge would have been Napier Road Bridge, rough order, 800,000 or so. That's it. I mean, how can you approve or disprove that on the basis of that very limited information?
I remember seeing that line item in there.
Oh, it was there. Yeah. It
because
was there,
I read everything.
It was there. I think I might have spotted it myself, but it doesn't tell you anything about what it's for, what it's for, what options were looked at. Do we even need to really do it at all? That's what reporting. That's what reporting on each of these higher value projects is about. To justify to us, well, first of all, why do we need to do it at all, and what practicable options are there that we could be doing instead? I mean, that is doing our job as governance. And expecting for us to be able to do it once a year at an annual plan or long-term plan, and be able to ask those questions. And by the way, that project wouldn't have even been sketched up for then, so they wouldn't have had the answers. So that's why I'm saying these things have to be reported one by one during the year. And as I say, it works like that in other councils I've worked at, and I don't see how it can work here.
Councillor Cameron.
Look, so I'm just going to go back to what I just said, which is that we do go through line by line. I remember it very carefully, really clearly, that I went through all the OPEX, all the CAPEX procedures. We went through fees and charges line by line. We adjourned to be able to have some further discussion on that. I think you might have been asleep in the last long-term plan discussions. We have regular performance reports on these projects that come up every month in our council agenda, and then we have forecasting reports when it comes in under budget, which is awesome, and it can be transferred to another budget. We're looking for efficiencies here. You're relitigating a long-term plan that happened almost 3 years ago, when in actual fact we could be doing some really good work on the next long-term plan to find these cuts. I'm just sorry, my frustration is boiling over here.
Councillor Cameron, please try and control your frustration. What Councillor Campbell is actually
Excuse me, Your Worship, I have every right to voice my opinion how I see fit.
To ask questions. That is what governance is all about. We should all have patience and listen to what people have to say. As for, there are avenues, and other councils are doing it, they are reforecasting and cutting back. And particularly if you're facing big increases in product or materials, that is something that is worthy looking at. And I think what Councillor Campbell's asking for is heads up on stuff that's coming down the line, so we're not surprised by it. And that was, the Briscoe's Corner was one that surprised me. So, anyway, Councillor Leonard.
I do think it would be interesting to see how many pages on diligence are opened by some elected members, because I feel like we're relitigating some things that have been litigated. At the moment, we have the delegations to the Chief Executive before us. And I see on the agenda that we also have the the annual plan come up again. I thought we signed that off. I'm not sure why we have it at the table again. And how much is this costing the ratepayers to be
Well-
revisiting these things time and time again?
Councillor, happy to talk to you later. I don't want to, we're just relitigating this all over again. I think, has anyone got anything further to add, or we should just put it, we've got a recommendation there.
Well, through the chair, I mean, I recited my additional recommendation. Is that on the cards? Can we vote on that as well?
Can I suggest that, yeah, absolutely, we put that to the vote, we have a look at it. I also have, I'm quite comfortable with what's up there, but my recommendation is that we bump the figure up and we have a delay clause in there that allows the mayor to sign it off if it's going to cause significant delay and cost implications.
Any further comment, Councillor Campbell?
Oh, well scrolling down, is my suggestion going to be number 3, is it? Or
He just wants to see further down the screen.
oh, I'm just...
No.
Is that it?
So I think
So you wish, can I suggest we put it to the vote, what's up there? If it passes, what the other councillor has suggested is a moot point. It's done and dusted.
Well, through the chair, no, mine is not in conflict with those. It is an additional recommendation.
perhaps you could read it. Perhaps you could read it out again.
Yeah, should I read it again? Was no one caping shorthand? No. So, should I read it? Oh,
Read it
hold on,
out
I'll-
again, Councillor.
Can we just, I was going to say, are you ready?
I can
You
put
ready?
it out there. Yeah, I got it the first time. Do you want me to put it? What,
We can't tell what's Duncan's and what's
Yeah, sorry, that was me. That was my, that was yellow one was me, sorry. Did you?
Well, through the chair, 1 million is a good start. I would certainly not want to go lower than that. Oh, sorry, I would not want to go higher than that as being suggested. I'd rather go lower. I don't know if we're going to horse trade the number or...
So, Your Worship, I'm conscious we are well past our 2 hours. Can I suggest we take a 5-minute adjournment, wordsmith this, and then come back?
I agree. Let's have a 5-minute break. So welcome back, everyone. What's it? So, so we have the recommendation on the screen. There's actually 3 of them. Can everyone read number 1? Because we're going to put it to you, I suggest, in 3 parts.
As I say, would you invite me to comment on
Yes.
resolution number 3?
Can I just ask a question before you go on? So we've revoked the unbudgeted expenditure, which was, what, 100,000 or something. Where's that come in? Where's the unbudgeted expenditure?
Through the chair, there's been no change to the unbudgeted expenditure.
That stays at 100,000?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So you were going to give advice on number 3?
Yeah, through the chair, I guess I have a few concerns about the resolution proposed by Councillor Campbell, and it mentions their significant projects. So for a process to go outside of the long-term plan process for significant project decisions, I'm a little bit concerned that that's outside of the local, that could cause you trouble with the Local Government Act, particularly in relation to significant changes to significant events, or significant activities, sorry. So if you're starting to consider those outside of the annual plan and long-term plan process, you could potentially get into a little bit of trouble with the LGA.
Councillor Campbell.
Yeah, I think you're wrong, actually. All we're asking for is additional reporting. I honestly don't. I can't comprehend how that could be against the LGA. If we're just asking for additional reporting on it before the project gets committed to a particular solution. I have no idea how that could be contrary to the Local Government Act.
Yeah, through the chair, and I think the item that comes up next, all significant projects are reported to you on a monthly basis through Council's performance report, and Panel comes to you at the start of the year to ask which projects you would like to be on that list.
But I was just having a discussion with Nahui just now, but yes, we get reported on the status and we don't, those projects, we do not get presented with what were the practical options looked at, what was the scope, we get progress reports on those, but that is not the same as what an actual pre-procurement. That's what I'm asking for. Reporting on before the project even gets committed.
Through the chair.
We're talking two different things here.
Through the chair.
Councillor.
Wouldn't we have opportunity to feed into that when we look at the long-term plan?
Well, I'll throw this at you. I'll throw this back to you. The Roberts Road, Briscoes Road parking area, that was about $600,000. What opportunity did you ever have to look at that and go, hey, or actually, what is this and why are we doing this? We never got it because it was some line item. I think it was described as Roberts Road, Titarapenga Street improvements. What I'm arguing is for that there's additional scrutiny, reporting. Hey, this is what it is. This is a picture, and this is what we're thinking of doing. These are some other options we looked at, but we'd like you to approve this option here that we want to do because we think it's the best option, and we'd look at it and go, actually, I agree, or actually, what about those other options? Can we look a little bit closer? That's what I'm talking about.
Wouldn't
Councillor Murch, followed by Councillor Foreman.
that have also been done in like a previous
wasn't done
long-term
here.
plan
No,
that
no,
I wasn't involved in?
no.
I'm a new councillor. I've been here 10 months, bro. I'm still the new kid on the block, so I can't actually feed into how that process lays out until I participate in it, and that's what I'm looking forward to, the long-term plan. Also on the legislation, put your hand up, councillors around the room if you got a law degree. No one? Right, that's what I thought. When it comes to legislation, we've got an in-house lawyer, he's sitting over there. I reckon anything to do with that, we don't try and interpret what the law means ourselves. We look at Nigel and we ask him. Thanks.
Well, on that point, my interpretation of the Local Government Act is responsible governance means actually taking responsibility and getting reporting and understanding what we're ticking off. So I absolutely think we are strengthening our responsibilities under the Local Government Act. But to answer your question, yeah, no, specifically that Roberts Road parking area, and no, it never got run past us even last term.
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
Sorry, Councillor Foreman.
I'm kind of feeling for Duncan right now because obviously our reporting's not quite hitting the mark for some. So whether or not this is a conversation we can take offline and have some agreement maybe for later on what would be then appropriate. Because just quickly to the side, we did say a couple of things that might be able to be tweaked, but moving forward, I think we should possibly leave this one off.
Councillor Foreman, can I just interrupt you? That was exactly what I was discussing with the Chief Executive, whether it's possible that we can take this offline, have a workshop on it, because we're just going round in circles here. Is that possible? So it just remains as it is. In fact, that was the whole idea for Tuesday morning, but we ran out of time. Duncan had discussed this with me. He had his questions, and I said discuss them on a Tuesday morning session, and we didn't get to it. So sorry, Duncan, I'm in trouble again. So how can we formally do that?
Yeah, through the chair, we've got long-term plan workshops coming up, and I think it might warrant a discussion around what you expect to see in the long-term plan process. I do just want to point out we had months and months of workshops on the capital program last long-term plan, for which a lot of options analysis was explored, a lot of capital works program was moved, and yes, it was a little bit of a baptism by fire and a lot of information all at once. I will agree, because you had a lot of work to do on that capital program. But it certainly was well discussed. But let's talk about how we can do that through the next long-term plan process. And Warwick is the sponsor of that project, so we'll get Kendall in at the beginning of that project to talk to you about what you want to see.
How do we go up it?
Oh, sorry. So I mean, I'll go along with, we'll take it out for now, because obviously there's enough uncertainty around here that it's not going to get voted for anyway. So yeah, drop it for now.
It's getting too long, isn't it? My suggestion is that item 5.5 is taken off the agenda. I don't know how we.
Through the Chair, I think what the feeling of the room was that the amendments that were under question was taken off, but will be revisited. But we go ahead with one of the recommendations, was my understanding. And the amendment, otherwise Sarah will have to come back to us for what? Tax and GST. So.
Councillor Foreman, was that what you?
Happy to move option 2. Yeah, 1 and 2. Move. 1 and 2.
That.
Oh yeah.
Just so we're clear, Your Worship, it's 2 million up there now.
Yeah, well, is that?
Or do you want to leave it at 1?
Leave it as 1?
Yeah, we'll leave it at 1. I'm relatively flexible on that.
1.
Put it back to 1. Get it across the line.
Yeah.
I'm happy to move. What's
You're moving what? Item 1.
Item 1 and 2.
You have a mover for that? We have a mover. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Matanui, second. Put it to the vote. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Contrary? Carried. Ooh. We're on to item 5.6. Kapa District Council Performance Report.
Thank you, Chair. Now I'll just cover off, as per normal, the Chief Executive part. Now, July was still all-consuming in the Head Start central government reform process, so I think that was the key thing Julie was highlighting in her performance report. But I will note that as a result of last month's council meeting where we talked about the efficiency paper and we were going to come back to you with more, we've come back with our first attempt on that. Now look, we will be maturing this as we go along, and as we see those savings in the business and start bringing those to council and go through the long-term plan process, and the team around the table start approving things, you will see that reporting develop. So that was our first attempt, but open for any suggestions on that as well. But I will hand over to Panau to talk about projects unless there are any specific questions on the Chief Executive and the GM reports.
Panel, please proceed.
Thank you, Your Worship. It's lovely to see you all this afternoon. I appreciate you've had a big afternoon, so I won't unduly delay you. We've got 22 projects that we're reporting on, just the same as last month. We're up from 57% across that portfolio to 60%, with some big movers. 2 projects have increased in risk, and both of them are wastewater. One of them is the Taupō wastewater treatment plant infrastructure improvements phase 1. And that's because we're in execution phase, and the overall risk is up as we've really, we understand a lot more around the delivery of that project. Also, the Taupō wastewater treatment future options, as Mike goes through the complicated detail of all the wastewater standards and transfers them into the new water services strategy. We're learning more and more each day. But on the other side of the ledger, there are 3 projects that have reduced in risk, and that's the smart metering project, Kinloch Reservoir, which is about to go to tender, yay, and the Omori Kuratau slip, which is also great news. I just wanted to give you a couple of highlights. One is Motuapa, the transformer was installed and changeover occurred last Friday for the membrane plant out there, which is great news. So now we're just focused on finishing Hatipi. And also Mangakino, after feedback from the boating community, there's been some design tweaks, and we're pegging out the plan design and inviting individuals from the boating community to test drive the parking. So we'll come back to you with some thoughts and feedback on how that backing with the trailer went. That is all I have for you today, but happy to answer any questions.
Councillor Cameron.
I'd just like to point out this is when you would ask your questions about progress on any projects, because this is the monthly performance report that I was mentioning earlier. Yeah.
Are there any questions? We are in question time. Councillor Moot.
I'm not too sure if it's a question for Panau at this time, but I had a question around not so much the level of reporting, but if and how councillors would be able to request things to come through on reports. I think it would fall within the performance report. Sorry, I was just wondering if we saw, or if there's a spot within the performance report that could show resource consents, not small ones but massive ones across the district, and whether or not that might be something that we could have in our monthly reporting moving forward, just so we're aware of what's happening across the district in terms of significant, projects or things that might be happening. Not in depth, and I'm not looking for anything in depth, I'm just looking for a simple number, how many resource consents, a high level, I guess, couple of words of what it might be. And I'm not sure if we get that at the moment. My only query or context behind that is that I constantly get questioned by members of the community around if I have information or understanding on what might be happening where, and I don't. So I would just like to request if that could be shown in our reporting, not minor consents like all of the little niggly things, but more so the bigger things.
Panel, did you want to answer that?
All I was happy to say through the chair is I think that we do capture a couple of the consents on this list because they're big strategic projects and lots of people are involved in that program. But certainly the operationalising a report wouldn't be that challenging. So happy to take that offline and have a conversation with the team yourself.
Any further questions? Councillor Cameron? Okay, there's a recommendation there. Can we have a mover for that?
All I was going to say, Your Worship, through the chair, was just that's actually the purpose of our Tuesday morning catch-ups, is to get an update on all those projects, and we haven't really been able to do that lately. And also just on that, the councillor Kōrero that gets emailed out every week to us, that also does list resource consents. Just
So
for
was that
councillors'
moved by
information.
Councillor Dalrymple? Is there a seconder for them? Seconded Councillor Taylor. Any debate needed on that? If not, put it to the vote. All those in favour, please say aye.
Sorry.
Contrary, no.
I was waiting for debate because it wasn't a question. I just wanted to say we actually went out to the wastewater treatment as part of the waters services, and that project really does concern me. The future of that is, a one that we need to take a good look in for the long-term plan.
So we'll start the voting process again. We have a move and we have a seconder. All those in favour of the recommendation, say aye. Aye. Against? Carried. Thank you, Panel and Sarah and anyone else who contributed to that. Moving on to item 5.7. Electoral section for 2028 and 2031 triennial elections. Philip and Karen, welcome.
Kia ora koutou, Your Worship and councillors. So following last month's meeting and the workshop held on the 11th of August, this report is back for you to consider whether you'd like to change the electoral system. On the report, we've provided a bit more information about polls, and you'll note that a recommendation has not been given. So this is for you to discuss your preferences as a team and provide us with what you would like on your motion. Just note that if you do change the system, the decision is required by 12 September. So in other words, we need you to decide today, and that it will be in place for the next 2 triennial elections. Philip's here as well with me. He's leading the representation review project. And yeah, over to you if you have any questions and for telling us what you would like your recommendation to be. Thank you.
Are there any questions? It's on the STV or first past the post. That's what we're discussing here. No questions? Can we have a mover? Oh, there's no recommendations.
We have to have discussion first. We need to have discussion first.
Well, yes and no, but before we vote, we have the discussion here. But if you want to have a discussion, please feel free. We can go into discussion.
Through the chair.
Oh.
Thank you, Worship. Yes, I am a great believer in the STV way of voting. However, Hamilton, if any of you have been following it, changed from STV to FPP, at their last council meeting and caused such an uproar across the whole of the Hamilton district that in fact they have just, I think today, it was in the paper, was it? Anyway, they've gone back and said this was absolutely unacceptable to do this to our community, with going out and consulting with them, and so they've actually gone back to STV because they didn't consult with their community. So although I'm in favour of the STV, I think we should stick with the first past the post and be done with. We don't cause any more trouble than is necessary.
Councillor Foreman.
Yeah, that we've got so much stuff changing in this environment right now. I just don't see the point in changing this right now until we're a bit clearer at the next point. It just seems, bizarre to change it.
We'll go Councillor Leonard next.
I'd like to move that we look at option 1, and I'd like to see if there's a seconder and take it to the vote.
Oh.
Can't quite do that yet, but
Pardon?
You can.
we can't quite do that just yet.
Why not? If it's moved and seconded.
We've got to have 3 people on the same, saying the same thing. We haven't got that.
I'd like to
Councillor-
I'd like to second.
Hold on,
Count-
we're having a debate, aren't we? I mean, I haven't said anything yet.
Can we just slow up a little bit? Let's hear from Councillor Woodward.
Thank you, Chair. I think this is a tough decision sort of to make, given the what was said by the previous councillors just then. I have spoken loosely to a number of my community. Some are for STV, some are for FPP, leaning in favour of STV from the few conversations that I did have. I personally think I would support the STV option as well, but given the consultation issues from Hamilton and whether or not, what happens after amalgamation, how those systems will then relate to the number of representation that we have is also a concern of mine. Those are my thoughts.
Councillor Campbell.
Campbell, yeah. Oh, look, I'm favouring a change, and I'm kind of favouring giving it a whirl. I mean, and to be honest, yes, I agree. We haven't even talked to the community or educated them so much about it. That is a bit of a problem. I'd still probably vote for it and take the heat after on this. But having said all that.
Consult over roundabouts.
Yeah, I know. I was just bleating about consulting about other stuff, so it's a little bit contrary. But there is one other option, or it's hidden in there, is that, as far as I understand, maybe the staff can confirm this, we could resolve to have the referendum poll at the next 2028 election, and that, so we can resolve to do that, as far as I know. We can resolve to do that, and so that means we would stick with FPP for 2028, but at the same time, at minimal cost, as Warwick Lamp informed us, about $16,000 or something, we could have the referendum at the 2028. That's a binding referendum, isn't it? I think that would be really worth giving a whirl as well, and I would absolutely favour that option.
Councillor Cameron.
Yeah, interesting, and I'm not opposed to that, but I'm just wondering, because we actually don't know what our form and function's going to, we don't even know our form and function after 2028. That's the problem there. So even if we had a referendum at that time, it may not be enforceable because the government's going to come in and make some changes.
However, we will have consulted with our public, which is really important.
Yeah, I'm just asking if we're going to be able to make good on that promise if we have a change in...
Probably not, but...
Yeah.
I'm wondering about processes all.
Oh, through the chair, though. I mean, but through the chair, respectfully, that's beside the point. And I think Councillor Taylor has said this many times. If we were worried about what's going to happen down the road for every decision we make now, we'd never get anything decided. I think we can decide to do this. Okay, maybe it doesn't come to pass, but we can still decide that as our preferred way forward.
Okay, anyone else got a view on this? Sarah?
You go.
Through the chair, it just was asked about process. So number 3 is that exact thing. However, you could also propose to amend that, whereby you say if there is an amalgamation on the table or the like, that you don't go ahead and take that additional cost.
Be inclined to go along with that?
Yeah, well, I guess. Oh, excuse me. Sorry. Hello, Councillor Delator here.
Please go ahead.
Thank you,
Councillor
Chair.
Delator.
Yes, when would we need to decide if we wanted to include a poll in the next local body elections? Because we could put it in there and I'm sure decide at a later date. That doesn't need to be decided today. But as you say, Sarah and Rachel, put it in there, as a suggestion, and it would be great.
Sure. So the purpose, through the chair, the purpose of today's decision means that we then do a public notice to inform the community that you've decided the electoral system and provide an opportunity for a poll to be held if we don't say that you've called for a poll.
Oh.
So electors could get together if you have 5% of them and they could ask for a poll.
Can
So
you
that's-
say that we, sorry to interrupt, can you say that we are looking at, doing one at the next?
Yes.
Okay. Because I do also would like some time to consider all of the costs. As Councillor Campbell outlined, we got that rough indication of maybe 16,000 to do it, but also I'd like to get an indication from staff as to, the comms plan that would need to, outline and go along with that. I'm sure there'd be additional costs. So if we can, stick with FPP and have a poll on the cards, I think that would be.
I think the 16,000 was done, if it was done at the same time as the election. Yeah. So so we're looking at option 1. Do we need option 3? Or just
Through the chair, I think what we've been advised is if we could resolve the option 1 or 2 first, and then have a discussion on option 3 and a potential amendment in light of Councillor Cameron's earlier thoughts around amalgamation and whether that forces you into a poll, which may be a little bit pointless.
Okay, so we have the recommendation option 1 on the screen there. Can we have a mover for that?
It's been moved and seconded. It has been moved
Yeah. Well, actually, it's been changed so much, I'm not so sure. Can we have someone, let's do it properly, let's someone to move what's there now. Councillor Leonard, seconder Councillor Murd. Is there any debate necessary on this? Any further debate? If not, we'll put it to the vote. All those in favour say aye. Contrary, no.
Hold on, sorry, clarify. No. Sorry, bring up. Well, we are voting for FPP for the next 3 elections. Sorry.
And a poll.
Hold on. Sorry.
We've got another.
The next 2 elections be held under first past the post, but that's not what we want, because if we hold a poll in 2028, and the people decide that we want STV, then we would be having STV for the 2031 election. Yes, so that's.
So just
So
clarifying.
Councillor Campbell, the 17,000 only applied if we were doing it as part of an election.
So what I think we're wanting to see there is that it's only for the 2028 election, and that at the 2028 election we will hold the poll to decide on the 2031. Only if it doesn't conflict with an amalgamation. So I think we might just need to rewrite.
Yes, so it should be, as far as I can tell, that the next one triennial general election, not elections, viz 2028, well, actually just keep it simple, just.
Sorry, through the chair, I think the
reword it.
legislation prohibits us from doing that. I think we have to say for the next two. It's in the legislation.
Oh, well.
It's a legislated decision.
Oh, but hold on, to clarify, if we do the referendum in 2028, are you saying that would not apply for 2031?
So it will apply to 2031 if we do the poll in 2028.
Yes.
But if we don't, it will apply for. We cannot remove one of those years if we.
Oh, no. So if we do the poll in 2028, and let's say that the people vote for STV, how many elections would that apply for?
It will apply from 2031 and 2034.
Yes. Yeah. So that is wrong.
No.
That is wrong because if we don't want to.
The poll will override this decision, basically.
Where you go, Councillor Deltor.
Oh, really?
Your turn.
No, it's fine. He's explained. The poll would overrule it. It just needs to be there for now.
Okay.
Right.
Oh.
So we need to clarify that. Or we're going to do it all as one.
Through the chair.
Where's that coming from?
This,
sorry.
Sorry, through the chair. You can resolve to go with first past the post now and be applicable for 2028 and 2031. Then if later on at the 2028 election we do a poll and the public decides to change it, then it would override this decision and we will have the STV starting from 2031 and 2034.
Well, okay, it doesn't seem to explicitly say that to me when I read that as it's written anyway.
It's pretty clear in the legislation.
Well, it doesn't say that there, really.
Through the chair, I just think we're forgetting too that the poll may not override. So again, back to the legislation, you've got to have the 2 years there. Then if the poll overrides, staff have given assurance that that will then override the 2031 and then you'll be asked to confirm I'm picking 2031, 2034.
Well, then I would suggest that the bottom one, okay, leaving the top as that council holds a poll in conjunction with the 2028 local elections. So that's good so far, unless. I don't even need you need to have the amalgamation stuff in there, to be honest. I think unless the poll decides that the people want STV, then it will apply from the next two elections after that. I think that's what we're trying to put in there. I don't even think we need to include the amalgamation.
Well, it's just that we've had indication from MCERT that backstop change, the process for backstop starts in 2028. So we might not have this form.
We might be here.
Yeah, exactly. But that's why the next bit down is quite important, because otherwise we'll be compelled to hold a poll at ratepayer costs that might be meaningless.
Well, then you can have, as it's written, unless Taupō blah 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 before these elections, or the 2028 poll changes it. Or the 2028 poll changes direction, so we can change it from that year on.
So,
I can word it a lot better than that, I'm sure.
I think you moved this, did you not? Yeah. You're still happy with it as it's written there? Councillor Mitch, were you the seconder? You happy with what's here? Just for the sake of clarity, we're going to put it to the vote again. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Contrary, no. Carried.
Well,
right.
Doesn't anyway. Move on.
Thank you, Duncan. Item 5.8, council engagement.
You've still got the second resolution up there. That's number 2.
Can you put a number next to it, Shady, so we can see?
Yeah, no, that's what we've just passed.
No, they moved number 1. They moved number 1 only, not number 2.
Okay, well, I thought we moved number. So we're putting. Moved by Councillor Deltor, seconded by Councillor Taylor. Item number 2 there. All those in favour say aye. Contrary, no. Carried. Thank you very much. Now moving on to 5.8, council engagement, December 2026. Appointments and training.
Kia ora. me again. Okay, so so just in the table of engagements, just note that the regulatory committee meeting has been cancelled, so the next meeting will be 10 November. And noting that the Turangi Co-Governance Committee workshop on the 2nd of September is now for 30 minutes only, so starts 10 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. And then the final part for you to approve is for a councillor to attend some training, and that's it.
Are there any questions? Councillor Moot?
I want to do the training too.
Can
Did
we-
everybody see the micro-credential course that came out of LGNZ? On the YEM committee, the Young Elected Members Network, we actually had quite a lot to do with the development of the development and design of micro-credential courses. So we did a huge advocacy piece, and this is the result. So if everybody had a chance to look at it, it's real cool.
So Councillor Moot, you'd like your name added in there beside Councillor Foreman?
Yeah.
Okay.
If that's all right.
Let's do that. Are there any
That
other
one, the finance one.
any other questions?
Oh, through the chair, can I just request you guys doing the course, would you be able to please, so it's a request, report to us on what you learned from
Yes.
it?
Yes,
So
sir.
we might learn something as well.
Okay.
You should do it.
Any further questions? If not, I'm looking for a mover. Move Councillor. Move Councillor Taylor, seconder Councillor Delator. Any debate needed? If not, we'll put it to the vote. All those in favour say aye. Contrary, no. Carried. 5.9. We're meant to be here at 3 o'clock, and it's God knows 4 o'clock now. Notice of motion.
Save the most exciting stuff for last. But if you want to save time and if you all agree to vote yes, I won't go through all the presentation of it if you're really... Oh, well.
Duncan, we're timing you. There's a limit. 5 minutes.
Right, look, hello everybody. This notice of motion is really very simple. When 13 elected members are asked to make a decision on behalf of the community, the basic information needed to make that decision should be visible in the report in front of us, and obviously this is relating to one of the items we're just talking about this. We shouldn't have to know which question to ask, hunt through previous agendas or discover important information during debate. I did last week ask if anyone had any specific concerns with any of these recommendations. There's a few of them in there. And they emailed me before today if they had any particular concerns, but that's because of the peculiarities in our standing orders that once this notice of motion is formally seconded, we cannot amend it. I didn't receive any suggested changes, so I'm presenting as is. And I think item 5.5 on financial delegations provides a good example of why this is needed. Elected members need to see the assumptions and alternatives before the practical ability to change direction has disappeared. So before I vote on a significant recommendation, I want the report in front of me to allow me to answer 4 basic questions. Number 1, what will this cost? Number 2, what else could we reasonably do? Number 3, what do we give up or affect by doing it or by not doing it? And number 4, why is this the recommended choice, including whether the outcome could reasonably be achieved for less? The remaining headings tell us whether the proposal fits our adopted plans, how significant it is, what engagement is required, and on whose professional advice the recommendation relies upon. And of course, we're talking about changing the standard reporting template of those things that are reported to us. If these matters have genuinely informed the recommendation, recording them briefly should not create a major additional workload. And if they haven't been considered, that is precisely why the heading is valuable. I'm not saying this information never appears in our reports, often it does. I'm saying councillors and the public should know where to consistently find it. I also want to specifically address the provision concerning professional qualifications because I don't want its purpose misunderstood. This is not about distrust of staff. It's about transparency and the origin and record of professional advice. When we receive advice involving engineering, planning, finance, legal, or other specialist discipline, elected members and the public should be able to understand the professional basis upon which that advice has been prepared. Sometimes the report author will themselves be the relevant specialist. Sometimes they will be coordinating advice from engineers, planners, accountants or consultants. They're all legitimate pathways. I simply want the paper to tell us which it is. In fact, this transparency I'm proposing protects staff as much as councillors. If specialist advice has been obtained, the report should make that clear rather than leaving the report author appearing personally responsible for every technical conclusion. Good governance should not depend upon trust alone. It should depend upon information that is transparent, traceable and capable of being tested. We make decisions involving millions of dollars, public assets, regulatory powers and long-term consequences for this district. Asking that the decision paper clearly tells us the costs, alternatives, trade-offs and reasoning is not micromanagement. It is basic governance. It is our job. And importantly, this provides transparency not just for us, but for members of the public reading our agendas.
1 minute remaining, councillor.
Yeah, I'm nearly finished. And trying to understand why council made a decision. If the information exists, let's put it where the people can see it. If it doesn't exist, we should be asking why before we cast our votes. And to finish off, there may be a modest administrative cost in making this information consistent. I think that is substantially outweighed by better informed, more transparent and more defensible council decisions, and I ask you to support this motion. Thank you.
Can I just ask, are you moving this? A motion?
Oh, well, just a quirk in our standing orders is that if I move it right now and it gets seconded, then the opportunity to amend any of the details about it disappears. So if anyone wants to suggest an amendment to any of those aspects of it, now would be the time before it gets seconded.
Rather,
Yeah.
in the interest of moving this along, we'll go into question time. Are there any questions? Being no further questions, do we have a mover for this motion? Are you moving it, Hope?
Yes, I'll move it.
Move councillor Campbell, seconded councillor Woodward. Is there any debate needed on this?
I just had a comment,
Well,
if I can.
yeah, Waco.
I do support the intent behind this motion, and I think, you know, today we had kind of an example of why this could be important, where we had the options analysis and where I pointed out that one had no disadvantages and one had advantages. And I've pointed this out actually before in another meeting that we've had, that I didn't believe that the optional analysis that we were shown really had the right advantages and disadvantages in that analysis. And this is where Duncan's motion could come into play and actually support us better in understanding the true advantages and disadvantages from all aspects, instead of necessarily the staff's sort of opinion. And I know the staff are trying really hard to do a great job, and they are, and I'm not saying that they're not. This would just help us further understand things a lot more. We don't want to add further unnecessary reporting, definitely, but we do need to have enough information to make our decisions, and I think we could use a little bit more.
Thank you, councillor Woodward. Any further debate needed? Okay, thank you for that. I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour say aye. Got 2, contrary no. That's lost then. Righto. Sorry about that, councillors. The motion is lost. And I'm lost as well. Item 5.10, notice of motion, Taupō New Year's Eve fireworks display. Invite Councillor Duncan Campbell to speak to his notice of motion.
Yes, well, interesting. To state clearly, this motion isn't asking elected members today to vote to reinstate the fireworks. It is simply asking us to have the information put in front of us before we make the decision. I completely accept that there is significant community support for reducing non-essential expenditure and that every dollar we spend needs to be justified. But there is clearly much public interest in this issue, so I say that makes it political for politicians to decide. That's us. But I've also heard another side of this discussion since the cancellation was announced. People are asking about the economic effect of removing a significant New Year's attraction from Taupō. Others are talking about something less easily measured, that this has become part of New Year's for families, and particularly for children, some of whom, I would say, might have even chosen to turn up at public forum here and petition their views, but they would be in school. Those views don't prove that we should reinstate the fireworks, but neither should they simply be discounted. Now, I circulated some comparative info to elected members because I wanted to understand whether approximately 50,000 was obviously excessive compared to what other councils are doing. And on the information available, it isn't possible to say that. Dunedin, for example, has identified 45,000 just for its fireworks or light show component, in addition to substantial wider New Year's event costs. The research I undertook also identifies something I think is important. This doesn't necessarily have to be a choice between council paying the whole cost and cancelling the event. Sponsorship, partnership, alternative displays, and other funding arrangements are all things we could be looking at. And there are clearly other considerations. There are environmental issues. There is the question of launching from the lake and the approval of the lake bed owners. There may be alternative locations. There are animal and noise concerns. All of these things deserve proper consideration, and that is really my point. The public announcement said there were a number of reasons for cancelling the event, and although some of those reasons may ultimately be compelling, none of them individually seem to me to be. But elected members have not had that opportunity around this table to see these matters laid out and made an informed decision. There are also inferences that this was decided last term, including by its omission in the long-term plan, which myself and the general public didn't happen to notice. I'm afraid that claims like that are quite disingenuous, and I did circulate some evidence that gives credence that no decision was ever formally made in these chambers. But anyway, today is not the day to quibble the past or even attempt that decision without the proper information put in front of us. If councillors believe fireworks are poor value for money, or think the environmental and approval issues make it impractical, they will be entirely free to vote against them in September, when the report comes back I'm asking to be presented. But we should have these things laid out before us. No, all good. And for the public to transparently see too. And if there are realistic alternatives, sponsorship opportunities, another location, a different type of display, or wider economic and community benefits that ought to be weighed against the cost, we need to know those things too. For example, some people come into Taupō just for the fireworks from places like Rotorua who don't have their own. How much do they spend? So to wrap up, right now I am not asking elected members to vote for or against the fireworks. Simply vote for receiving the information that allows us to make the decision properly. Because once gone, I truly believe they will not be back. Yes, $50,000 does seem a lot to go up in smoke in a short time, but I am sure we can make it up in other ways. Think of the children at least. Yeah, right, okay.
In fact, it's a shame he didn't ask to speak in the public forum.
What do you think? Would you like one? He said yes.
Let him finish.
Do we have a mover for this motion?
I'll move it.
Is there a hope? I understand you're seconding this motion.
Yes,
Thank you.
I'm seconding it, and I just have a comment, if I may. I don't want to spend a huge amount of time or spend a huge amount of staff time. I do think it's important we understand the process that this went through, and given it's a significant community event, I believe the community should have the say. Whether it's fireworks, I'm actually personally against fireworks, but a display of some kind, a celebration of some kind. New Year's is you know, it's the start of the new year, and it's a time where we do have a lot of people coming into our communities. I do worry about the effects on tourism, and it's a celebration time, you know, just to take that away. And I know we've got an economic issue, you know, but yeah, we're taking away something. I think it's the idea of it that is quite special to the people. It's me.
It's getting too late in the day. Are there any questions of Councillor Campbell? We have a mover and we have a seconder. Is there any need for any debate? Okay, so moved by Councillor Campbell, seconded by Councillor Woodward. We have a recommendation on the screen. Put it
Can
to the
I
vote.
ask a question? Sorry.
Yeah, do go ahead.
I feel like we're going to put this to the vote and it's not going to pass. I just wondered if we changed some of that writing on there and took out quite a bit of it, and even if we just looked at an alternative option for an event or some kind of display of something. And given Councillor Campbell's homework, a little bit of homework he's done on the funding options, I think that's an excellent idea to ask other businesses if they would contribute. I guarantee they probably would. Is that something we could put on there that the other members would be more happier with? Or are we just saying absolutely no to any New Year's event?
Oh, through the chair, yeah, I mean, my understanding of standing orders is once we've seconded, we can't change the notice, the motion. But having said that, that's in there. Point 1, or an alternative New Year's Eve event should be reinstated. So that stuff can readily be covered in the staff report.
Sorry, through the chair, if this helps.
No. My information is we have to put this to the vote.
There is Town Centre Taupō are planning to activate the space in Taupō-Kaingaroa. So it's not that there are no events; it's just no fireworks.
Okay, yeah, put it to the vote.
Just through the chair, just one last comment. I think I'm allowed another 5 minutes if I really want to go on.
A point of order, Your Worship.
No?
He does not have right of reply unless he's responding to anything that was raised in debate. There was no debate. There is nothing for right of reply. It's been moved. It's been seconded. The appropriate standard in standing orders, which I note, Councillor Campbell had a successful notice of motion that we apply them, is to put it to the vote. I request you do that now.
Well, through the chair, I would. Through the chair, my understand, I've just clarified my understanding of standing orders, and I do not intend to talk for 5 minutes.
Sorry, Your Worship, again.
My
No,
understanding of a
I've
standing
got a better
orders.
idea. We put this to the vote, we deal with it, you can have a couple of minutes after that. So, all those in favour, please say aye. I shouldn't be laughing, but it was meant to be aye, not high. Contrary, no? It's- Okay, well, that vote's lost.
Well, through the chair, I just
Duncan, I don't know whether I can do this, but I give you the courtesy of saying something, because you have put a bit of effort into this, so.
Well, I find this interesting, the absence of debate of any sort on both my notice of motions. I find that quite interesting, actually, and I'll just leave it at that.
What do you find interesting?
The absence of any sort of debate at all. I find that quite interesting.
You and I have had some discussions on this. There's nothing to, I don't think this precludes anyone wanting to do a fireworks display, does it?
No, they can go for event management.
Yeah, if we know an event manager. Right,
Summer festival. Fireworks on 31st.
Closing karakia. Karakia.
oh, close.
I still think we should get the finger boys. You could do boom boom as in boom boom and the dinosaur. Yeah. Anyway.
Right, can someone help me with the closing karakia? But before we do, Hope and Duncan, I thank you for your efforts contributing. I actually do mean that. You're brave enough to stand up and do that. And
It was all
good on you.
Duncan's effort,
But
and same to him.
closing karakia,
Through the chair,